What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto trained with the Otsutsuki and returned to take Hinata with him? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. Come on Hinata, keep it up. Kurenai yelled at her young student, about 16, who was panting badly covered in scratches. She had been dodging kunai and shuriken for the past 4 hours. Let's take a break, Kurenai said, and Hinata collapsed onto the ground. Good idea, Hinata replied between gasps, pulling her long bluish-black hair out of her face. Well, let's get you back to the compound, Kurenai said as Hinata got up from on the ground and they started to walk to the Hyuga compound. Hinata, a voice came from behind Hinata as she walked into her room. Kurenai had already left and Hinata was about to have a shower. Father? Hinata stuttered, turning around. Oh crap, there goes the stutter, she thought to herself. She hadn't stuttered in ages, only when around her father she still stuttered. Where have you been? He yelled. Just training with Kurenai-sensei. Hinata explained, avoiding eye contact. I told you to be back by 3 o'clock. It's 3:30. Why'd I even bother with you? Sometimes I wonder if you even are a Hyuga. You are going to have a training session with me. Right now out in the north training grounds. Hiashi ordered and started walking, motioning me to follow. Don't disappoint me. I just came back from a massive training session. How am I supposed to train now? I can barely walk. Hinata thought to herself but knew she wouldn't be getting out of it. Let's get started, Hiashi said as they entered the training ground and slipped into the Jiyuken fighting position, Byakugan activated. Hinata quickly followed and got into defensive position. She knew that she didn't have enough energy to go offensive, so she prepared herself, also activating her Byakugan. Hiashi charged palms forward, rotation. Hinata yelled and started spinning, a blue light of chakra surrounded her and sent Hiashi a step back. That was a weak rotation. You should be able to do better. Hiashi growled and charged again. I just came back from training. I'm out of energy and chakra. Of course I can't do an all-out rotation. Hinata yelled back, dodging his palms. Don't talk back to me. He growled, thrusting his palms forward faster. Hinata could barely dodge. Hinata then found an opening. She dodged Hiashi's palm to the head by doing a backbend, and threw her leg forward to kick him in the chest, sending him flying back. Stop treating me like a piece of trash, she yelled, quickly getting back into position as Hiashi threw a couple kunai at her, which she easily dodged. Well, she'd been dodging them all day, so it was easy for her. I treat you as you deserve to be treated. You should be stronger. You are weak. The clan has no need for someone this useless. You haven't got stronger since we last sparred. Then Hinata felt a palm to her shoulder, throwing her back into a tree. She didn't have enough time to get back into position before Hiashi was standing in front of her, palm towards her chest. The tree broke, sending Hinata back more. 8 trigrams. 64 palms. Hiashi yelled, running towards her. Hinata knew she was done for, but she still had one trick up her sleeve to try out, water style. Vortex of protection. Then she moved, twisted her body and spinning as fast as she could from the outside. Her attack looked like a tornado made out of water surrounding her, but she knew she couldn't keep it up for long. She felt her father's palms hitting the outside of her protection and she was getting weaker quickly. Her chakra was completely drained. Slowly the protection subsided and her father charged forward, palms out. Hinata couldn't even defend herself. 2 palms, 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms. 32 palms, 64 palms. Hinata was in a lot of pain then. She couldn't move and all of her chakra passages were blocked. Not that she had much chakra left anyway. You disappoint me. You shouldn't even be a Hyuga. No wonder your sister is getting the title as heir. Hiashi growled and stormed off, leaving Hinata on the ground bleeding and in pain. Hinata refused to let her purple eyes close. I'm not finished yet, father. I can still fight, she yelled, getting onto her feet as Hiashi turned around. You should know when to stay down. I'll show you the punishment of that mistake. He charged. On the other side of the village 2 figures walked towards the gates. They had returned after 3 years away on a training trip. State your name and your business here, a guard at the gates stated as the 2 walked up to them. Don't tell me you don't remember me. The younger one, about 16, yelled back. Naruto? Is that you? Wow, you've grown. Weren't you supposed to be coming back next week? He smiled at the ninja. We decided to come back a week early, the older man, Jiraiya said as they walked towards the Hokage Tower. They started to the tower when they crossed a big group of people. Naruto. You're back. He saw most people standing there: Shikamaru, Tenten, Neji, Lee, Sakura, Choji, Shino and Kiba. But he couldn't help but feel disappointed when he noticed the girl he really wanted to see wasn't a part of the group. Hinata-chan, I've missed you. I want to see you again. Where are you? He thought to himself. During his trip he realized he really missed Hinata. It all started when he got a package in the mail. He remembered that day and pulled out a silver kunai from his weapon pouch, which he had got in the package. He also got a card that said, "Dear Naruto, happy 15th birthday. It's pretty boring here without you and we are all missing you. Can't wait to see how strong you are when you get back. Hinata Hyuga." That was the first birthday present he had ever got. And that card got him thinking about Hinata. How kind she was, how she was always there to cheer him up. She never laughed at him and was always there to help. Sure, she was shy and a little weird, blushing and fainting a lot, but she was the nicest person he had ever met. He shook his head, returning to the present, where all his friends, minus Hinata, were staring at him confusedly. "Sorry, guys, I was just thinking about something. How have you guys been?" he asked. "Oh my god, is that Naruto?" Another voice ran up to the group. "Yeah, Ino, it's me." Naruto smiled at Ino, who entered the group. "Wow, you've grown. You're so tall. And you've got muscles. Are you sure this is Naruto?" Ino looked like she was having a heart attack. "The power of youth is still burning brightly within you, Naruto-san." Lee yelled, making Naruto chuckle. "Well, you sure haven't changed, Lee." Naruto smiled widely. "Good to have you back, Naruto-san." Neji stepped towards Naruto and patted him gently on his back. "It's going to be much more troublesome now that you're back." Shikamaru sighed, thinking about the days of cloud watching he's going to be missing out on while trying to get Naruto out of trouble. "Have you gone to Ichiraku's yet?" Tenten wondered. "No, that's why I had to get to Ba-chan. Pervy Sage is making me go see her first." Naruto complained. "It's troublesome, but welcome back. I'm going to make use of the cloud watching time I've got left, so I'll see you later, Naruto." Shikamaru sighed and walked off lazily. Sure, Shikamaru was the laziest person you'd ever meet, but he was smart. Like the smartest person on the planet, so that made up for it. "Well, I better get going. I want that ramen," Naruto yelled, and ran towards the Hokage's office. Everyone stood in shock at how fast Naruto moved. Wow, he has gotten a lot faster. Sakura was stunned. No one was that fast, he was probably on par with Lee in speed now. "Ba-chan, we're back," Naruto yelled as they busted through the doors of the Hokage's office. "Naruto? Well, you guys are early. And you're taller. Have you got any stronger?" Tsunade, the Hokage, questioned. "Of course I have," Naruto yelled. "Well, that's good, I'm going to test your skills." Then the door flung open, revealing a stunned Sakura. "Sakura," Naruto greeted. "Hey Naruto." She smiled then turned to the Hokage. "What did you want me for, sensei?" "You and Naruto are going to fight Kakashi. I need to test your skills," Tsunade said as a cloud of smoke entered the room. Once the smoke cleared, there was a man with silver hair, a mask covering his mouth and his forehead protector covering his left eye. "Kakashi-sensei," Naruto yelled. "Nice to see you again, Naruto." Kakashi smiled behind his mask. Crass HHH. Something flew through the wall of the Hokage's office, landing in a crater on the floor. The figure stood up and rubbed the back of its head. "Okay, that one hurt a little." A feminine voice mumbled. She then noticed she had flown through the Hokage office. Her eyes grew wide. "Sorry Hokage-sama. I'm sorry for interrupting. I didn't mean to. I think it was better when I was flying through trees, nay?" "Hinata, what the hell is going on here?" Tsunade yelled. Everyone was staring at her bruised and bloodied body standing in the middle of the room. "Hinata-chan?" Naruto was shocked. In front of him stood Hinata, kind girl that he had missed so much in his travel. But she was different. She didn't seem as shy as she used to be. He hadn't heard her stutter once, and she was beautiful. Well, she'd always been pretty, but now she looked downright beautiful. She didn't even look much different, apart from her hair which was now long. She was still fairly short, about a head shorter than Naruto, but she was gorgeous, even covered in blood. He couldn't help but stare, wide-eyed at her. She froze when she heard Naruto's voice, a blush covering her face as she slowly turned her head towards him and said, "En Naruto-kun?" She was in shock. This was the guy she had a crush on since she was 10. And he was handsome as ever. He still had his blonde spiky hair and sparkling blue eyes, but he was taller and he had muscles, a well-toned body, she thought. Suddenly there was another crash and Hinata was indented in a wall. Standing in the middle of the room was a very angry Hiashi. Father. She quickly remembered what was going on. Suddenly she felt her body shoot up with confidence. Before you hit me again, I think we should go back to the training ground and stop destroying the Hokage's office, nay? She asked, venom seeking into her voice. I'll ask once again, what the heck is going on here? Tsunade roared. We were training, Hokage-sama, Hiashi said curtly. So that's what you call it? Hinata sighed, picking herself up from off of the floor and stretching her sore limbs. I thought you'd call it being the crap out of Hinata because I got nothing better to do, since I'm not worthy enough for you to train me. I told you not to talk back to me. You better show me some respect. You'd better earn it then. And by beating me and telling me you're disappointed in me is not helping. She shot back. Everyone in the room was shocked. No one had seen Hinata like this. Hell, even Hinata was shocked at herself. Hiashi charged, but Hinata managed to slip away from him. She was fast. Look, father. I really don't think the Hokage likes you destroying her office. Hinata warned. Shut up, you insolent little bitch. He yelled and charged again. Hinata could feel herself fill up with energy. She just kept stepping out of the way of her father's hits. Ouch. That comment hurt. You know what? I'm so over you disrespecting me. I'm your daughter, for God's sake. Suddenly Hiashi made a hit on Hinata's left shoulder. She quickly stepped back, grasping her shoulder. Hiashi went for another attack, but Naruto decided to intervene. He ran up to Hiashi and put him in a lock before he could think twice. I would advise that you leave Hinata-chan alone, or I will have no choice but to beat the crap out of you. Got it? Naruto warned calmly, making the threat sound even more murderous. Hinata was having trouble keeping her balance now. The whole world was getting dizzy. She quickly turned to the Hokage. Sorry to be a bother, but I think I'm going to faint in like 6 seconds. Could you please take me to the hospital or something? Then she turned to Naruto. Oh, and Naruto-kun? It was good to see you again. Welcome back. She smiled and fainted then. Naruto was the first to reach her. He caught her gently in his arms, leaving Hiashi to fall onto the ground. Well, that was interesting, Kakashi said, breaking the silence. Okay, Hiashi, get out of my sight. Naruto, bring Hinata here, I need to look at her. She ordered and Hiashi disappeared. Wow, was all that went through Naruto's head. Hinata-chan is strong. I hope she's okay. Wow, Hinata is pretty strong, but Hiashi didn't have a hit on him, he must be like really good. Sakura thought, she's too kind to hit her own father. Couldn't you tell she was holding back? Naruto turned to her. Sakura froze for a second. What if she was going all out? What would have happened? Once Sakura got over the shock, she said, well, she's stronger than me. With a small smile on her face. I'm going to get her to spar with me when she gets better, Naruto said with a smile on his face. And there's a chance to get to know her better in the process. Tsunade made a quick hand sign and her hand started glowing with green chakra as she started healing the girl in Naruto's arms. Well, you've still got that test of yours, but I've got a new idea. How about we join Hinata with this? I can't take all 3 of them, Kakashi complained. That's why you and Sakura will be taking on Hinata and Naruto. Tsunade said as she took Hinata's jacket off and started healing her shoulders. Naruto looked at the girl in his arms. She was wearing a black tank top underneath her big jacket and it really showed off her figure. Naruto blushed and quickly looked away before anyone could notice he had been staring and concentrated on the conversation. Maybe she's changed a bit more than I thought. Then realized what he was thinking about. Damn you pervy sage. I'm not a pervert. I'm not a pervert. So tomorrow at lunch we'll have the fight. Meet at training ground 12 and when Hinata wakes I'll tell her as well. Tsunade ordered as everyone left the building. Hinata's eyes opened to an uncomfortable feeling in her back. She tried to sit up but she then realized she was already in a sitting position which resulted in her falling on her face. She slowly stood up and noticed a chuckling Tsunade standing in front of her. Hello Tsunade-sama. Did you want something? Are you up for a fight tomorrow? She asked with hope in her eyes. Sure, why? Hinata asked, stretching the ache in her back. We are going to test Naruto's skills. You and him will fight against Sakura and Kakashi, she said with a smile. Okay, I'll be happy to join in the competition," Hinata said with a small smile. The next day, Hinata was on the way to the training grounds. She was in perfect condition after her disagreement with her father the day before, but was not game enough to go home yet. She was planning to wait until her father was asleep to go home, or was going to spend a couple nights at Kurenai's house until he calms down. Suddenly she felt a slight killing intent being aimed at her. Activating her Byakugan, she could see Ino standing behind her, glaring daggers at Hinata. Hinata sighed, deactivating her Byakugan. Ino and Hinata were usually on good terms, but recently they had a spar and Hinata had won. Well, had easily kicked Ino's butt. That was part of the reason Ino was in major disliking of Hinata. The other had something to do with the way Hinata wouldn't tell Ino why she had been sad across the last couple of days and how Hinata sort of yelled at Ino when she kept bothering her about it. Hinata didn't want to tell anyone about the beatings from her father, it would just get people to worry about her and she didn't want that. But Ino didn't take the fact that Hinata didn't want to tell her too well and had been using every excuse to annoy and disgrace Hinata. Ino just took it all too seriously. When Hinata entered the training grounds, everyone was already there, waiting on Kakashi. Hinata sat next to Sakura and Naruto, who were on a large log, having a small conversation about nothing in particular. "So what happened with your father yesterday?" Sakura asked as Hinata took a seat next to her. "Oh, nothing out of the ordinary. Sorry if I interrupted anything by crashing through that wall," Hinata apologized. "You know, you are really strong, Hinata-chan. I can't wait to see your new jutsu," Naruto exclaimed. Hinata blushed and tried to keep calm, "Sure, we can train together sometime and I'll show you. But you've been gone for 3 years. I can't wait to see what you've got," she said with a smile. "Yeah, I've been training lots. But most of the time I've been trying to get pervy Sage to stop perving at women," Naruto said with a frown. "I'm sure you're stronger than me though," Hinata reassured. "You know, you are a lot more confident since I got back. You haven't stuttered much since I got back." Naruto smiled. "Yeah," Hinata's smile faltered. "I've had to stick up for myself a couple times, and grow confidence to teach a few people a lesson. Namely, my father. But that doesn't seem to go too well." Hinata sighed. Finally Kakashi showed up, and Tsunade stood back as Sakura went over to stand next to Kakashi and Naruto and Hinata got into their fighting stances. "Don't be afraid to hurt them, Hinata-chan. The only way we'll win this is if we go after them like we want to kill them," Naruto whispered. "Thanks, Naruto-kun." Hinata smiled and turned to the enemy. "Okay, the rules are as follows. You fight until one team is unconscious or unable to move, got it?" Tsunade yelled. "Hi," everyone replied. "Begin," Tsunade yelled. "Offensive or defensive?" Naruto turned his head in Hinata's direction. Hinata let out a smile, he had changed. A couple years ago he would have charged straight forwards as soon as Tsunade said, "Begin, how about you take the offensive and I'll watch your back?" "Okay, let's do this," he smiled and the both charged towards the enemy. Naruto made about 50 shadow clones, and Hinata activated her Byakugan, keeping her eye on the real Naruto. Sakura started attacking the clones, as did Kakashi who had revealed his Sharingan. Hinata and the real Naruto were watching their every move, checking out their fighting styles. Then suddenly Sakura took a step back and Kakashi started making hand signs, water style. Water dragon. The water started from the lake behind Kakashi started forming the shape of a dragon. Hinata looked over to Naruto, "Don't worry about dodging, I've got your back," she said and started making her own hand signs, water style, vortex of protection. She yelled as the vortex surrounded her and Naruto. Once both techniques had faded, Sakura stepped forward and punched the ground, making a large rip in the ground. She grabbed some boulders and threw them towards Naruto. Naruto didn't even bother moving. Hinata had said she'd take care of all the defense and he trusted her. "Attack them, Naruto-kun, and ignore everything that flies at you, I'll block it." Hinata smiled as she demolished another rock that flew their way. Naruto charged, making hand signs, lightning style, kunai storm. Naruto yelled, throwing a singular kunai towards Kakashi and Sakura. Then more and more kunai started flying towards them covered in electricity. When the kunai hit they let out an electric shock. "Nice," Hinata smiled. "I'm not done yet." Wind style. Tornado slash. The air around them started to get heavy and wild, making the kunai almost impossible to predict where they would land. Kakashi was dodging easily because of his Sharingan and Sakura had grabbed a boulder to use as a shield. "You guys are good, but we're not defeated that easily," Kakashi complimented. "Chidori," he yelled. Hinata stepped in front of Naruto, fire style. Rotation. The move looked exactly like the rotation, but the outside was engulfed in flames. "Let's do this one-on-one," Hinata said to Naruto when Kakashi was being thrown back. "I was just about to ask the same thing." Naruto smiled. "Who do you want?" "I'll take Sakura. You're probably stronger than me and it will be easier for me to dodge her fists," Hinata suggested. "All right, I'll take Kakashi." And with that, the two separated. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto yelled, running towards Kakashi. Rasengan. Naruto created a blue sphere made of chakra in the palm of his hand, then thrusted it towards Kakashi. Kakashi made a quick substitution so the Rasengan would hit a log. Kakashi then was surrounded by clones. He took out all the Narutos until there was just one left. By then they were both panting and covered in scratches and bruises. "Chidori!" Kakashi yelled. "Rasengan!" Naruto yelled. They both charged towards each other. Meanwhile, with Sakura and Hinata, both were panting heavily, Hinata dodging all of Sakura's punches. "Fire style! Fire current!" Hinata yelled and charged towards Sakura, her body outlined by flames. Now it was Sakura's time to dodge and Hinata's to hit. Hinata had the advantage though, as she was a lot faster than Sakura. Hinata made a solid hit to Sakura's chest when Sakura decided to go on the offensive. It was a fight of hand-to-hand combat. Hinata released her fire current technique after burning Sakura a few times and changed to Jiyuken style. One day she wanted to learn to combine them together, but she couldn't think of that now. Sakura managed to get a few solid punches in, sending Hinata flying into a tree, clutching her shoulder. That's when Hinata decided she needed to finish it. 8 trigrams. 64 palms. She yelled, charging towards Sakura. 2 palms. 4 palms. 8 palms. 16 palms. 32 palms. 64 palms. Sakura by then was unconscious on the ground, so Hinata gently picked her up with her only working arm and headed over to where Naruto and Kakashi were fighting. Naruto and Kakashi flew when the Rasengan and Chidori connected. Both flew into a tree, giving a wide space in between them. That's when Hinata arrived. She placed Sakura at the base of the tree and she jumped up to watch from a branch with a better view. "Have you got this, Naruto? Or do you want me to come and help?" Naruto saw Sakura's unconscious form at the base of the tree, then smiled up at Hinata. "Just sit and enjoy the show. I've got this covered," he yelled back. "Anyone got any popcorn?" Hinata joked as she relaxed on the tree. Naruto and Kakashi charged towards each other, Naruto creating a Rasengan, wind style, flying Rasengan. The Rasengan flew out of his hands straight towards Kakashi. Kakashi could barely dodge it, nipped the side of his shoulder, but Kakashi kept charging forward. Naruto created another dozen shadow clones and the battle lasted for another 10 minutes. Hinata actually fell asleep on her tree in that time. Hinata started waking up and rolled over, out of the tree. She ended up landing on her back. "Ouch! Ouch!" she yelled, jumping up and down holding onto her back. When she looked forward she saw Naruto and Kakashi staring at her, both barely able to stand, they were that tired. "I fell out of the tree," Hinata admitted, blushing as Tsunade came into view. "Well, I think that's enough. I never expected you to be that good. But one question, Hinata, how come you don't use Jiyuken much?" Tsunade wondered. Hinata blushed in embarrassment. "Well, Jiyuken hasn't been my strong point. Hence the reason my father thinks I'm a disappointment, so I've concentrated on my elemental techniques." Hinata explained. "Makes sense. But I'm very proud of you, so I've decided to make a new team that involves Kakashi, Sakura and Naruto." Tsunade explained. "What about Hinata-chan?" Naruto wondered. "She can stay on her team with Kiba and Shino. I just wanted to see how much better she had gotten," Tsunade explained. "Alright, hey, let's get some ramen," Naruto yelled. "No thanks. I've got to work at the hospital tomorrow." Sakura left. He looked around and everyone had disappeared. "Man, I can't believe Sakura can move that fast. She was a lot slower when we were battling." Hinata mumbled to herself. "Hinata-chan, will you get some ramen with me?" Naruto yelled. Hinata looked around and realized everyone else had disappeared, making her let out a small laugh. "Well, they can move fast when they wanna." I'll go with you, Naruto-kun. They walked in comfortable silence towards the Ichiraku ramen stand. They walked through the curtain and took a seat on a stool next to each other. Oji-san, guess who? Naruto yelled with a smile on his face. Naruto, you're back from your training trip. How was it? The man, Tucci, stepped in front. I learned some awesome new jutsu. Naruto smiled. Well, that's good. What would you like to order? He asked. One of everything. Hinata-chan, what would you like? Naruto turned to her. Beef ramen please. Hinata smiled. Is this your girlfriend, Naruto? Tucci asked, interested. Awkward silence. Both blushing furiously. What? No. No. Naruto protested as Hinata fell off her chair in shock. Naruto looked down to her and held his hand out and she took it and lifted herself up, taking a seat back on the stool. That was awkward. Naruto laughed. Yeah? Hinata agreed. So how have you been these last 3 years? You must have some stories. Hinata asked, half curious and half wanting to change the subject. Well, once I had to bail pervy Sage out of jail. But I guess that doesn't count since I was the one who put him in jail. He started. Hinata laughed. Well, it's been boring around here since you left. You're lucky. All the interesting stuff happens around you. Suddenly the curtains opened and Neji, Tenten and Lee walked through. Hey guys. Naruto yelled, come sit with us. Naruto. Lee yelled, taking the empty seat next to Naruto. Neji smiled at Naruto then took a seat next to Hinata. Your father has been in a very bad mood the last couple of days, and he wishes to speak with you. Neji said to Hinata, making her shiver unconsciously. You don't have to go, Hinata-chan, Naruto reminded, emerging in the conversation. I don't think it will be a good idea to go to him. I won't have enough room in his office to run for it without running through a wall. Hinata sighed. Tenten took the seat next to Neji. What did you do, Hinata? I kinda yelled at him for disrespecting me and embarrassed him in front of the Hokage, Hinata muttered. Yeah, you should have seen her. She was awesome. Naruto smiled widely. Thanks, Naruto-kun, Hinata blushed. Well, I advise you wait for him to calm before seeing him. He is in a murderous mood. Neji advised. Sorry Neji-ni-san, he isn't taking his anger out on the Branch family? Is he? Hinata looked at her cousin, worried. Don't worry, Hinata Imouto, we can handle it. Neji smiled. No, I can't have the Branch family, my family hurting over what I did. I'll talk to him tomorrow night. He'll let all his anger out and he'll be back to normal, promise. Hinata promised. You're too kind, Hinata Imouto, thank you. You'll make a great clan leader. Neji smiled. Sorry Neji-ni, but I don't think I'm going to get clan head. I'm not good enough at Jiyuken, she said, looking down. But you're really good at your elemental jutsu, and your style of taijutsu, and you're fast. Just because Jiyuken is not your style doesn't mean. Hinata cut him off. My father doesn't look at my other skills. He only sees my Jiyuken and my Byakugan skills. If only he knew. Knew what? Neji asked. Well, I'll tell you later when the time comes. Hinata smiled. Well, we better get going. See you later Hinata-chan, Naruto, Tenten smiled, standing up. May the power of youth. Yeah, whatever Lee, let's go. Neji interrupted. Hey, do you want to train together tomorrow? Naruto asked once they left. Sure, I could use your help on a technique I'm working on. And it'd be fun to spar against you. Hinata smiled. Technique? What's the technique? Naruto asked, interested. Well, I'm trying to combine my fire current technique with the Jiyuken style. Hinata explained. Fire current? Naruto asked. Oh, it's a technique I made. Let's get out of here and I'll show you. Hinata said, excited. They walked out of the ramen shop and headed to the place they had the match today. Okay, this is my technique. Fire style. Fire current. She announced. Naruto watched as the fire outlined Hinata's body like a cloak or a second skin. Wow, Hinata-chan, that's awesome. He walked up to her and touched the outer layer of the fire only to flinch back. That's hot. Hinata laughed. Yeah, she smiled, dropping the technique. So you're fire and water nature? Naruto asked. Yeah, and you're lightning and wind? Hinata guessed. Yep. Naruto smiled. Isn't that beautiful? Hinata asked, pointing to the lake which was sparkling in the moonlight. Wow, that is gorgeous. Naruto smiled and walked over to it. Hinata followed and put her hand into the water. It's warm. Hey Naruto-kun? Hinata asked. What is it, Hinata-chan? Naruto asked. Do you want to do for a swim? She asked with a smile. He was shocked for a second. He wouldn't have guessed Hinata ever would have asked something like that. Then a huge grin appeared on his face. Sure. Hinata took her jacket off and slipped her shoes off and dove into the water. You coming in? She asked with a smile. In a second, he yelled out, throwing his shirt and jacket on the ground and slipping his shoes off. Hinata almost fainted at the sight of his muscled chest and abs. He was hot. Naruto noticed her staring at his chest and smirked, diving into the water. He then appeared next to Hinata. Hey, this is a lot warmer than I would have guessed. He laughed. Then he noticed Hinata's mischievous grin. What are you up to? She swiftly dunked his head under the water, holding him down for a couple of seconds, while Hinata sat there laughing her head off when she saw the look on his face when he resurfaced. This is war, he yelled and ducked down, taking her down with him. But he grabbed her by the legs so she was going backwards and it wasn't very comfortable for her. You'll pay for that, and don't forget, this is my turf. She smiled mischievously. What do you mean your turf? Naruto sat there confused for a second. She smiled at him and suddenly started making hand signs, water style, water bullet. She laughed as Naruto got hit in the head with the low-powered water bullet she made. Hey, that's cheating. I'm not water element, he complained as he got hit by another lot of water bullets. He then swung up to Hinata and threw his arms around her, holding her hands together so she couldn't make hand signs. Now what are you going to do? She smiled at him, Byakugan, but something was different with her eyes. They still had the veins visible around her eyes, but her eye color was a darker purple, close to red even. Naruto was shocked when he was attacked by another lot of water bullets. What happened? Naruto asked, confused. This is the second level of the Byakugan. One of its tricks is I don't need to make hand signs. She laughed. One of its tricks? There's more? Naruto was astounded. Well, I haven't been able to figure it out too much yet. I see much more than the normal blue chakra pathway. There's these strange yellow and green passages or patches that I now see in people's bodies, but I have no idea what they are. Hinata explained. That's so awesome. Naruto complimented. Thanks, I haven't told my father I have it yet because, in all honesty, I don't trust him. Hinata said, deactivating her Byakugan and looking down. Why not? Have you told anyone about this? Naruto wondered. I don't trust my father because if I have it, he'll want to do some research on it. And I don't want to be a test subject. And you're the only one I've told about this. So please don't tell anyone. I know I can trust you. She said with a smile. She trusts me? He thought to himself with a smile on his face. Well, if she trusts me, I should trust her. Hinata-chan? What is it? She asked. I want to tell you something. He started. It's a secret that only the adults, Sakura and Sasuke, know about. What is it, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, sitting on the bank of the lake. Naruto got out of the water and sat next to her. Well, have you heard about the Kyuubi? Yeah, I've heard of it. Why? Well, people are told that the fourth killed it, but that isn't entirely true. He started. What do you mean? She asked, confused and wondering where this was going. Well, he couldn't kill it. So he sealed it away in a newborn child. What has that got to do with you? Because that newborn child was me. He said, then motioned to his stomach and applied some chakra until the seal appeared. Hinata sat, frozen. It took about a minute for her to defrost, and she turned back to Naruto. You saved the village? She yelled, astounded. He looked down for a second. He had expected her to yell, which she did. But once he took in her words he looked up in shock. What? He yelled, absolutely positive he was hearing things. If it wasn't for you, the village would be demolished. And the people treat you badly because of the Kyuubi? Hinata asked. Yeah, not so much anymore. But they used to. He explained. That's disgusting. How can they treat you like shit when you didn't even have a choice? You're not the damn Kyuubi. They are so lucky I didn't know back then, or I would have kicked the shit out of everyone until they started to see sense. She clenched her fists in anger. Suddenly she felt Naruto's strong arms surround her, locking her in a hug. Thank you, Hinata-chan. Thank you so much. Hinata looked at Naruto, whose head was lying on her shoulder blade, and noticed he was crying. You don't need to thank me, Naruto-kun. She reassured gently. But you don't know how much that means to me. Everything that you said. Naruto thanked again and squeezed her tighter. Hinata was awestruck. He had no idea how long she dreamed of being in his arms. And now she was there. She couldn't help the blush that lit up her cheeks. She decided to cherish the moment. twisting her body so she was facing him. He let go of her so she could move. She gently sat in his lap and moved her arms around him. "Thank you for telling me this, Naruto-kun. It means a lot to me that you'd trust me that much." Naruto suddenly found himself in his mind. It was dark and looked a little bit like a sewer. He was standing in front of a large dark cage with red eyes watching him through it. He had been here many times before, so he knew he was there to converse with the fox. "What do you want, Fluffy?" Naruto ordered. "Fluffy? I'm not a cat. I came to tell you to take this girl as your mate. I like her much better than that pink-haired bitch," Kyuubi said in his deep demon voice that sounded more like a growl. "Well, what if she doesn't like me? I know we're friends and all, but I don't want to ruin our relationship by going further." Naruto yelled desperately. "Just try it, kid. You'll be surprised." "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Naruto yelled in frustration. "It means I like her and you should take her as yours. Now get lost, your vixen is getting confused." Naruto focused his eyes back to the outside, and saw Hinata staring at him strangely. "Are you alright? You spaced out for a minute there." Hinata asked, worried. "Oh, sorry, I was talking to the fox." "You can talk to the fox?" Hinata asked, stunned. "Yeah, the furball said he liked you." Naruto smiled, and for once I agree with that bundle of fluff. "Well, I guess I should say thank you, fox," Hinata said with a smile. "Anytime, young vixen. You deserve it." The fox's voice echoed in Naruto's mind. Fluffy said, "Anytime," Naruto said with a smile. "Fluffy?" Hinata raised an eyebrow and let a small giggle escape her lips. "That's what I call him. Well, Fluffy, fur ball and stupid fox. He doesn't like that much, but that's probably the reason I call him that." Naruto smiled half-heartedly, watching for her reaction. "Wow, that is so cool. You can talk to him. He seems a lot nicer than I thought he'd be." Hinata thought out loud. "You don't think it's weird? And he's not nice all the time. He usually talks to me like I'm a baka and tries to get me to lend my body to him." Naruto recalled. "Well, he's still nicer than I'd expect. One day I would like to talk to him." Hinata smiled widely at Naruto. There was an oddly comfortable silence between the two. Then Naruto looked straight into her purple eyes, unconsciously moving his head closer as she did the same. Their lips were just about to connect when suddenly they heard a rustle in the bushes behind them. Naruto jumped to his feet and pulled a kunai out of his pocket, stepping in front of Hinata, then moving towards the movement. Naruto jumped into the bush and came out a second later with an old white-haired pervert in his arms. "What the hell, pervy sage?" Naruto yelled. "What?" he said innocently, and then looked to Hinata. "You must be Naruto's girlfriend. What's your name, sweetie?" Hinata." Hinata said awkwardly, blushing madly. "You did a nice job picking Naruto. I mean, just look at that figure. Oh, and those b." Jiraiya was cut off by Naruto yelling, "FCK off, you pervert. Leave Hinata-chan alone." Jiraiya looked at the murderous glare on Naruto's face and people could probably feel the killing intent from miles away. "Well, that's my cue to leave," he said and disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Sorry Hinata-chan, I told you he was a pervert." "Yeah, it's okay Naruto-kun. That was just a little awkward," Hinata laughed. "Well, you better get going. You might get in trouble," Naruto wondered. "Actually, I've been waiting for my father to fall asleep before I get home, because I don't think he likes me very much at the moment. I promised I'd talk to him tomorrow, and I'm not in the mood for running into him tonight." Hinata explained. "Do you think he's asleep now?" Naruto asked. "Probably." "Well, then come on, let's get you home." Naruto smiled as they walked in the direction of the Hyuga compound. "Are we still going training tomorrow?" Naruto asked. "Absolutely. I would like to spar against you." Hinata smiled. Then Naruto's arms were around Hinata again. "Thank you for listening to me," he whispered into her ear. She blushed at the close contact, then turned around to bring her lips to his ear. "Thank you for trusting me," she said and gave him a slight peck on the cheek, disappearing into the Hyuga compound, leaving a shocked Naruto behind. "Yeah, I have written so much of this already, it's just taking me too long to upload it. I'm kind of lazy like that. But, it's here, and I'll try to get the next one to you today as well. We shall see. I know my fanfic goes really fast at the start. How Hinata and Naruto get together really quickly, and it seems too quick for it actually to be a reality. But just bear with me, okay? After they get together it slows down a little. Well, let's just say there is always something happening, and that will never slow down. I guess that's just the way I write. If you know me, you would know I love the fluffiness, so I try to cram as much of it into mu-fic as possible. But there's nothing fluffy without the action. So, anyway, before I start ranting on something as random as carrots, I should shut up and let you read the story. Winking face. Hinata woke up with the sun shining down on her face. She quickly got up and changed and headed for the door. She was about to walk through her bedroom door when she noticed a note attached to a kunai hanging from her door. She quickly unattached the note and read the contents. Hinata-chan, can you meet me at Training Ground 14 at 1 p.m.? That's only if you're still up for training with me. Hope you can make it. Naruto. Hinata smiled at the note and shoved it into her jacket pocket and mentally prepared herself for talking with her father. Taking in a breath, she knocked onto her father's office door. Come in, the muffled voice from inside said grumpily. Hinata hesitated, but opened the door swiftly and taking a step inside, trying to stay as far away from her father and close to the door as possible. You wanted to see me, father? She said, no emotions present in her voice. Yes, I have arranged that you be graded with the caged bird seal as you are no longer heir and will move to the branch family. Hiashi stated coldly. What? But father, I'm stronger. Why can't you see me? You look at me and don't notice my skills. What did I do? Hinata protested, getting angry. You embarrassed me in front of the Hokage. You're a failure to the clan and you're too worthless to even be in the main family. Hiashi growled. I'm not a failure. I'm not worthless. I'm your goddamn daughter. Stop treating me like I'm a slave. Hinata yelled. Don't speak to me like that. You are lucky I haven't banished you from the clan. Look up to me with respect, you worthless child. Hiashi yelled so loud it echoes throughout Konoha. And you wonder why I don't respect you? She mumbled under her breath. Suddenly a loud slap could be heard echoing throughout the building. Don't disrespect me. He growled, you're getting the seal next week. For now, I don't want to see you. Get out, Hiashi ordered, turning around and started walking to his desk. Hinata was holding her cheek in pain. She slowly got up off of the ground and took a deep breath, ignoring the continuous stinging in her cheek. That was going to leave a bruise. She could feel it swelling already. She was trying to keep the tears locked inside, but after the first few strayed, the rest flooded over her eyes. Hinata didn't look back. She just ran. She needed to get as far away from the Hyuga compound as possible. She finally stopped once she reached the top of the fourth Hokage's head. Collapsing onto the bench, she continued to cry where no one could see her. Naruto was standing at Training Ground 14. It was 1:54 and Hinata still hadn't shown up. He had his doubts, like what if she didn't want to hang out with him, but he had a feeling that something was wrong. Giving one last look around the training grounds, he made his favorite hand sign and yelled, Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto yelled and over 100 Narutos appeared in the arena. Find Hinata-chan, the real Naruto ordered as they split up and started to search. Hinata-chan? Naruto said, his voice full of worry and care. It hadn't taken Naruto long to find the girl sitting on a bench situated on top of the fourth Hokage's head. Hinata didn't look up. She didn't want Naruto to see her tear-stained face. What are you doing here, Naruto? She sobbed. Naruto flinched when she dropped the kun from the end of his name, but slowly walked over to her. You didn't show up for training, so I sent out shadow clones to look for you. Naruto sat on the bench next to Hinata and gently lifted her chin up with his hand so she would look at him. What happened? He asked with the utmost care. Hinata stared at him in the eyes for a moment, before throwing her arms around him, sobbing into his chest. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. She started. Naruto smiled unconsciously when she added kun on the end of his name again, but that smile disappeared fast as he looked at the crying Kunoichi sobbing in his arms. Naruto gently stroked the back of Hinata's head while she spilled out what happened with her father and how she was going to be in the branch family. Whatever happens, I am not going to let you get the caged bird seal. And that's a promise. Naruto promised. But Naruto-kun, there's nothing you can do. Hinata cried. Hinata-chan, do you believe in me? He asked suddenly. Of course, Naruto-kun. Hinata looked up. So believe in me now. When I make a promise, I don't stop until it's accomplished. I am not going to let you be sealed, believe it. Naruto smiled encouragingly at her. Thank you, Naruto-kun, thank you. Hinata just lied against Naruto's chest, thankful for the support. Well, now that that's over, do you want to do some training? Naruto asked with sudden enthusiasm. Hinata giggled, sure thing. And with that, the duo left towards training ground 14. Hey boss. Konohamaru yelled out to Naruto, who was walking home with a smirk on his face. Oh hey Konohamaru, haven't seen you in ages. You've grown. What's up? Naruto asked. Nothing much. I'm heading over to the Hokage's office now, just got back from my mission. He bragged. You'll never catch up to me, brat. Naruto smiled, affectionately ruffling Konohamaru's hair. I will, you just watch me. Come on, battle me now. I'll take you on. Konohamaru shouted at Naruto. Not now. Tomorrow. Meet me at training ground 14 at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. You can be my warm-up before I spar with Hinata-chan. Warm up? You wish. I could beat you. I'll give you some pointers. And if you want you can bring your team and you can watch me and Hinata-chan spar. We'll show you what a real battle looks like. I'll bring Moegi and Udon, they can watch me beat you. Whatever you say. See you tomorrow brat. Naruto smiled and disappeared toward his house. The next day when Hinata arrived, she was surprised to see Konohamaru, Moegi and Udon standing in front of Naruto, talking. Naruto. Hinata called, getting everyone's attention. Hey, Hinata-chan, he said innocently. Hinata walked up to the group with a smile on her face, then noticed Konohamaru, Moegi and Udon standing next to Naruto. What are you guys doing here? She wondered. I'm going to kick Naruto's ass. Konohamaru shouted. He wants to fight me. So I said we could fight before the spar with me and you. Then I invited them to watch us spar so they could see how a real fight looks. Naruto explained to Hinata. Well, you better get started then. Hinata smiled, and then turned to Moegi and Udon. Sit over here with me. You don't want to get in their way. The fight didn't take long. Both players started by creating shadow clones, but there were a lot more Narutos than there were Konohamarus. Konohamaru was pretty good for his age. He managed to block and dodge some of Naruto's tougher punches, but soon enough Naruto had a kunai held at Konohamaru's throat and the fight was over. I will beat you next time. Konohamaru vowed. That's right brat. Keep practicing. Naruto encouraged. Now do you want to watch a real fight? Sure, but I doubt she could beat you. You're the best. Konohamaru stated. Really? I beg to differ. Hinata suddenly appeared in between the two. Naruto laughed at Konohamaru's shocked expression. Don't underestimate her, she's a lot tougher than she looks. And she's a lot faster than me. Well, let's get this started. Konohamaru, go sit with Moegi and Udon. Trust me, you don't want to get too close. Hinata warned. Once Konohamaru was seated next to the tree and all three of the genin were watching intently, Hinata and Naruto parted from each other and slipped into their respectful taijutsu positions. Let's go. Naruto called out and charged Hinata, summoning about 50 shadow clones while Hinata activated her Byakugan. Water style, tsunami, she called. A huge wave of water came out of nowhere and washed out all of the clones, the real Naruto managing to dodge. Wind style, hurricane disaster. Fire style, fire current. Hinata charged through the viscous wind towards Naruto and they started a close combat battle. Hinata burned Naruto while being sliced by the wind. Fire style, inferno fountain. Hinata called, fireballs bursting out of every direction heading towards Naruto. Naruto used a substitution to dodge the attack then yelled out, lightning style, power surge, to follow through. Hinata got hit by the electric surge, giving her a shock and sending her flying through a tree. But before Naruto could follow through he was attacked by a massive amount of water bullets, full power. Both teenagers were panting as they stood. Second level huh? Naruto asked Hinata, referring to the Byakugan. Well, you're just going to have to find out. She smiled back and they charged at each other again. They were only using taijutsu at that stage, Naruto throwing various punches and kicks, while Hinata used her Jiyuken style to try to take out Naruto's Tenketsu points. They were both dodging every move the other made until Naruto made a punch to Hinata's stomach, but burned his knuckle from the fire current that she discreetly activated, sending both flying to the opposite ends of the arena. Hinata quickly jumped up and charged back towards Naruto with fire current still activated. Naruto looked up at her and created a Rasengan and charged as well. Hinata dodged the spiraling blue chakra ball, also known as the Rasengan, but it hit the ground behind her, sending both Naruto and Hinata flying backwards where Hinata landed on top of Naruto. After some awkward silence and blushing radiating from the two, Naruto called out, "Okay, that's it for today." As Hinata got up from on top of him, Hinata quickly looked Naruto over to see if he had any major injuries while Naruto did the same. After realizing that both were only covered in scratches, bruised and some blood, nothing that needed medical attention, the duo headed over to the Konohamaru Corps as they liked to call themselves. "What did you think?" Naruto asked, unconsciously rubbing his knuckle. The three genin were staring at Naruto and Hinata, shocked to say the least. "Wow, boss. You guys are good. I want to learn those moves." "Me too," Moegi said. "See, girls can be just as good as guys at fighting." "But one question. Hinata? I thought you were a Hyuga. Then why don't you fight like one?" Hinata smiled at the young girl. "Well, I've never been very good at our family's Jiyuken style. So I've been training with my elements the whole time, and I'm not really much of a Hyuga." Hinata explained. "I want to be as strong as you when I get older, Hinata." Moegi decided. "I'm sure you will, Moegi. Wiku no Ichi will kick all of the shinobi's asses." Hinata smiled. "Hey, you haven't beaten me yet." Naruto butted in. "But I could." Hinata smiled. "You wish." Naruto smiled back at her before turning back to the core. "Well, hope you enjoyed that, and got some pointers out of it." "Thank you for showing us that," Udon said politely. "No probs." Naruto smiled. "We better go to the hospital and get the regular checkup." Naruto turned to Hinata. Hinata just nodded and the two headed off to the hospital. Naruto and Hinata had just got out of the hospital in perfect condition. "What do you plan on doing for the rest of the day?" Naruto asked as they walked out the door. "Well, I don't know yet." Hinata explained. She didn't want to admit she was getting the caged bird seal that night, because she was going to have a talk with her father to see what she could do. "Hinata, Naruto." Ino's enraged voice came from behind the couple. Hey Ino." Naruto waved slightly. "What is going on with you two? I don't like the way you're being so secretive with your friends." "We deserve to know." "Hinata, you've been acting so strange lately. What the hell is going on with you?" Ino protested. "But Ino-chan, it's kind of private. There are just a few things happening right now. And I feel uncomfortable telling everyone everything. You don't need to know every single detail." "Hinata, why do you have to be so shy and quiet? You should be telling us everything. And you keep it all locked up." Ino kept whining. "It's just who I am, Ino-chan. I'm sorry but I can't change that." Hinata said politely. "Just drop the damn politeness. I know you're not like that. I don't get you at all. You're supposed to be the heiress of the Hyuga clan for God's sake. You can't even stand up for yourself. You're practically a princess and you're just that hopeless. You are just so selfish and spoiled." Ino growled. "Don't you dare make assumptions like that." Hinata retorted, making Ino take a double take. She had never heard Hinata that mad. "You think my life is just perfect. You don't know anything." Naruto took a step forward and put a hand on her shoulder, squeezing it slightly for support, effectively calming her down. "Don't yell at me like that." Ino yelled after she got over the initial shock. "You've probably had life a lot better than most of us. Just because one day your servant wouldn't get you a drink of water is probably the worst you go through." Ino snapped. "You want to know what I go through? Every day I have to put up with my father telling me I'm useless and then beating the crap out of me to prove it. And you know what? I don't even fight back cause I don't have the heart to hit my own stinking father. He's even putting the caged bird seal on me so he can boss me around. I'm not even good enough to be called a Hyuga. I wouldn't even be surprised if there was an accidental mishap when I get the seal and I end up dead." Suddenly Hinata realized that the room was crowded. Every one of her friends were standing, mouths open, gaping at Hinata. Naruto unconsciously tightened his grip around Hinata when she said she was going to die. "You want me to prove it?" Hinata continued. Slowly she took her jacket off and threw it onto the ground, showing her bare arms that were a dark purple in color. "How's that for proof? I had to go for that every time I do one thing wrong. I'm pretty damn lucky I'm alive. I'm used to the pain, it ain't hurt anymore. These damn bruises are from yesterday. Just because I refused to fight my own FC King sister." Hinata swore. "Hinata-chan, why didn't you tell me?" Naruto said caringly. "You didn't tell me," Neji stated. "I didn't know." Tenten said, surprised. "How long has this been happening for?" Sakura asked, shocked. "It's not important. I didn't want you to worry, it's been happening for the past 6 years so I'm used to it," she reassured. Naruto's eyes immediately went hard. "He will pay for what he's done to you." I don't care how, but I will make him suffer. Naruto promised. Don't take her side. She just wants you to feel sorry for her. Ino snapped, she probably deserved it. She's a shy, spoiled, weird bitch. And not even that pretty. Hinata stared wide-eyed. She didn't know Ino could be so harsh. Stop lying. Naruto growled fiercely. What? Ino looked at him. I said, stop lying, god damn it. She didn't deserve any of it. She's not spoiled, or weird. And she's a hell of a lot more beautiful than you. And I'll give you one warning. If you do as much as call her a bitch again, I will personally beat the shit out of you. Got it? Naruto snapped. Hinata almost fainted right there. Naruto had called her beautiful. Hinata was brought back to her senses when she noticed Ino glaring towards her. Then Ino snorted and turned around, storming away from the group, towards her home. Who knew Ino could be so harsh? Sakura sighed, not happy with what Ino had done. Hinata, don't listen to anything she said. Naruto was right. You didn't deserve any of what happened to you. And you'll get through this. No need to worry, Shikamaru reassured. Hinata just nodded her head, leaning back into Naruto, searching for his comfort and support and earning a light squeeze. We'll always be by your side, don't worry about it. Naruto soothed. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Hinata smiled, picking her jacket up from off of the ground. Before she could put her jacket back on, Sakura had approached her. Just let me heal this, please. Sakura begged. Hinata nodded gently while Sakura healed all her bruises so her skin was pure again. Any more? Sakura said, almost too hesitant to ask. She was not sure if she wanted to know. Hinata nodded shyly, and lifted her shirt up enough to show her stomach. It was covered in a red-stained bandage which made everyone gasp. You should have had this checked out in the hospital. Sakura said, shocked. Father wouldn't let me go. I was left with the Hyuga medics. Not that my father cared. Hinata sighed as Sakura's hands examined the wound. It was obviously a kunai wound, which must have sliced open her stomach. Once her wound had completely disappeared, Hinata pulled her shirt back down and threw her jacket back on. Thank you, Sakura-san. I really appreciate it. If he ever tries something like that again, Hinata-chan, you have got to tell me. Naruto said sternly to Hinata. Hinata nodded, turning around so she could throw her arms around Naruto and bury her face into his chest. He was shocked at first, but hugged back, tightening his grip around her. Thank you, she murmured against his chest. Hinata, what are you doing with that Uzumaki brat? An angry voice came up from behind the group, making Hinata freeze up in realization. The whole group froze, knowing this wasn't going to turn out well. Naruto took the liberty of turning Hinata around so they were facing the incoming Hiashi. Answer me, what do you think you're doing with that trash? He growled. What do you care? Hinata shot back. You're coming with me right now. He demanded. Since when do I have to do what you say? You shouldn't even care. You've never cared before, so go away. Hinata yelled. The rest of the group stepped towards Hinata and Naruto, so everyone was standing in a single file line facing Hiashi, prepared to stop a fight. Even Naruto had reluctantly let go of Hinata and stood next to her, glaring holes through Hiashi. You have to come with me this instant. Hiashi warned, venom sinking into his voice. Hinata? Neji warned. She doesn't want to go with you, so she doesn't have to. Naruto growled. This is none of your business. Hiashi growled at Naruto. It sure as hell is my business. Naruto retorted. Naruto-kun, don't get involved in this. I don't want you to get hurt. Hinata said quietly. Now, Hinata, you need to get back to the compound this instant. Hiashi demanded, taking a step closer to Hinata. Naruto was about to yell at Hiashi when Hinata gently placed a hand over his mouth, effectively shutting him up. I'm coming, Hiashi-sama. She said with fake politeness, bowing slightly. But, Naruto started, but was interrupted by Neji. Don't worry about her, Naruto-san, I'll look after her. Neji took a step forward so he was standing next to Hinata. Don't take too long, please, Naruto begged. Don't worry, I won't. She smiled. Where are we going? Hinata asked as they walked through a part of the compound she'd never been before. Neji suddenly had a large intake of breath in realization. Caged bird seal, he murmured under his breath. Hinata cringed at those words. She was too late. She quickly turned to Neji and murmured one word, Naruto, just loud enough so he could hear. Neji nodded at Hinata in understanding and disappeared out the hall in search of the blonde ninja. Naruto! Naruto! Neji yelled when he entered the streets of Konoha. He continued his search until he came across a familiar face. Lee, he called out and ran towards the guy. What is it, Neji-san? Lee asked as he walked over to Neji. I need to find Naruto. Do you know where he is? Neji asked urgently. I think he was heading back to his apartment, he should be there. Lee announced. Neji said a quick thank you and disappeared towards Naruto's apartment. Naruto! Neji yelled at the yellow-haired figure heading towards his house. Neji? Naruto looked up, surprised but saw the look on Neji's face. What's going on? Is Hinata okay? He started to panic. Caged bird seal. Hinata's getting the seal, right now in the Hyuga compound. You have to stop it. Neji said urgently. Naruto's eyes widened, but he quickly snapped out of it and ran as fast as he could towards the Hyuga compound with Neji trailing behind him. They were just about to enter the compound when they heard a scream coming from inside. Both glanced at each other with a look of worry and determination and they charged into the compound. Hinata was in pain. It was the worst pain she'd ever been in. Her head was aching and the elders did nothing, just sat on each corners of the room holding up a hand sign. She couldn't hold it in anymore. She let out another scream filled with anguish. There was blood dribbling down her lip from biting it so hard. Tears were trailing down her cheeks but she didn't even notice through the pain. She was just about to drift to unconsciousness when the door burst open, leaving two figures standing in the doorway. You're too late, mumbled Hiashi as he concentrated on the seal. Hinata-chan, Naruto murmured, a tear falling down his cheek. Hinata looked up at him. It was the only thing left she could do. But unconsciously, her Byakugan activated to the second level. She couldn't stop it, and it made the pain a lot worse. The elders looked at each other in shock. That wasn't supposed to happen. What is happening? One of the elders said. What did you do? Stop hurting her. Naruto growled at all of the elders. He couldn't watch Hinata in pain like that, and he intended to stop it. Hinata then decided to take out one more scream of agony that echoed through the compound, before collapsing onto the floor. Hinata. Naruto was immediately at her side. Are you okay? I don't know what happened. My Byakugan activated on its own, and I think I absorbed the jutsu. Hinata mumbled before drifting into unconsciousness. She better survive this. For all your sakes. Naruto snarled viscously and disappeared towards the hospital carrying Hinata bridal style. Naruto kicked down the hospital door, earning stares from everyone in the room. And a massive death glare from Tsunade, who had been talking to the lady at the front desk. Naruto, what the hell are you doing? She roared. Hinata needs help, was his reply, directing everyone's attention to the girl in his arms. Let me have a look at her, Tsunade said, examining the girl in Naruto's arms. What happened? She was getting the caged bird seal on her, and something went wrong. She told me that her Byakugan activated on its own and she absorbed the jutsu. What does that mean? Is she going to survive? Naruto panicked. Tsunade looked up at Naruto with wide eyes for a moment. Has there been anything different about Hinata's eyes lately? You should ask her. Naruto said. He promised Hinata he wouldn't tell anyone so he wasn't going to say it. Well, she'll live. She just suffered from severe chakra depletion and exhaustion. She should wake up sometime tomorrow. Tsunade explained. Good, Naruto said with a sigh of relief. Where do you want me to put her? First room on the left. Tsunade instructed as Naruto disappeared down the hall. What happened? One of the Hyuga elders asked the rest of the Hyuga council. That should have worked. She's up to something. Another stated. It's probably got something to do with the demon brat. She's been hanging around with the demon child a lot lately. He's probably done something to her. We need to stop this. We need to give her the seal and throw her into the branch family. But we need to get the seal to work. Before that, we need to get rid of the boy. Yes, we must destroy the demon child. Hinata-chan, you're awake. Naruto tackled Hinata in a hug. She blushed, giggling slightly at Naruto's antics. Yeah, I'm fine. But I want you to bring Neji here for me. I want to try something. Hinata smiled. Now? Naruto asked. Yes please. Naruto thought for a moment. Okay, he said with sudden enthusiasm, quickly making a hand sign and bringing up 10 clones. Find Neji and bring him here. Naruto instructed as the clones disappeared out the door. How long have I been out? Hinata wondered. About a day. I'm sorry I hadn't come quick enough. I should have known. I could have stopped it. Naruto looked down. Naruto, it's okay. I've figured something out anyway, so there's some good out of this. So why do you want Neji? Naruto asked. You'll see, but I don't know if it'll work, so I need you to be here. It was then when someone knocked onto the door. Come in Neji ni. Hinata called out. You wanted me for something? Quote. Neji asked as he appeared in the room. Yes, come here, and take your headband off. Hinata instructed. Neji looked at her with a confused expression, but nodded and took his headband off, showing the caged bird seal on his forehead, and stood right in front of Hinata. Hinata quickly turned to Naruto. Hold on to me tight, please, Naruto-kun. And this might hurt a little, Neji ni-san. Hinata warned and activated the second level of her Byakugan. Naruto blushed at the odd request, but held her protectively anyway. Slowly Hinata lifted her hand up. It was visibly shaking, but she pushed her first 2 fingers onto the center of Neji's seal and grunted at the sudden pain. Neji looked down at his cousin. Hinata Imouto? What are you doing? He was worried and could feel something moving on his forehead. Naruto realized why Hinata wanted him to hold onto her now. She was squirming in his strong grip, trying to move away from Neji, but Naruto knew Hinata wanted him to make sure she stayed where she was, so he obliged. Hinata's eyes were clenched closed, but a few stray tears of pain drifted down her cheek. She could feel Naruto's comforting hand wrapped around her while the other was stroking her shoulder. Suddenly Neji gasped in pain. He had a massive headache, but before he could pull away, Hinata said to him, a little longer, Neji ni. She ordered between pants. Suddenly the pain stopped, making Hinata fall back to the arms of Naruto, and Neji fall onto the ground. What did you do? Neji asked, slowly standing up. Look in a mirror. Hinata instructed. Naruto was looking at Neji wide-eyed. He turned to Hinata. I can't believe you could do that, you are so awesome. Neji looked into the mirror, and after seeing himself he almost fainted. You did this? You fixed me? How? I can't believe it. The caged bird seal is gone. He yelled in pure joy. Don't say it too loud. This never happened. Make sure father doesn't see you without the seal or I'm so dead. Hinata explained. How? Neji was still confused. Hinata looked over to Naruto. I think you can trust him, Naruto informed. She nodded. I don't know how it happened, but I have achieved the second level of the Byakugan. She whispered just loud enough for Neji to hear. I have a feeling that it has everything to do with seals. I don't have to use hand seals when doing jutsu in this stage, and I seem to be able to take seals off of people. Hinata explained quietly. You achieved that? Neji asked surprised. Well, you wouldn't have guessed. The weakest Hyuga managed the second level of the Byakugan. Hinata sighed, but don't tell anyone. I don't want Hiashi doing any tests on me or something. Neji nodded in agreement. I won't. Suddenly Hinata was engulfed in a hug, and lifted off of Naruto. Thank you so much, Hinata Imouto. I promise no one will know the seal has been lifted. He said, letting go of Hinata and putting his shinobi headband back on. You're welcome, Neji ni, you didn't deserve the seal. In fact, no one does. What is going on in here? Hiashi roared as he busted the door open. Nothing F father. Hinata stuttered. Neji, what are you hiding? He ordered. He didn't do anything, father. It was all me. I tried to get him to help me stop with the caged bird seal but he declined, saying you were right and I deserve what I'm getting. Hinata lied. Come here, Hiashi ordered. Hinata sighed, she knew what was coming. Slowly, she stood up, and walked over until she was standing directly in front of Hiashi, ignoring the confused looks of Neji and Naruto. Hiashi turned to Neji quickly. You did well, you're proving to be a great and worthy Hyuga. You may leave now, Hinata no longer needs your assistance, he said before turning back to Hinata. Then a loud slapping sound could be heard echoing through the hospital, followed by a crash. What the hell do you think you're doing? Naruto yelled, holding Hinata in his arms and glaring down Hiashi who had just flown through a wall. Stay out of this brat. This is clan matters, she needs to be punished for her actions. Hiashi growled, getting back up. Naruto looked down at the kunoichi in his arms. Her cheek was already swollen and starting to bruise up, which just made him mad. Naruto. Hinata. The voice of Shizune came up to the teenagers, followed by Shizune running into the room. What is it Shizune-chan? Naruto asked sitting up. Tsunade-sama needs you too for a mission, Shizune explained. Hinata then sat up. Alright, let's go, Naruto-kun. Shizune led the way as the three made their way to the Hokage Tower, leaving Hiashi standing by himself. What's the mission, Ba-chan? Naruto asked as they stepped into the Hokage's office. Well, you and Hinata will be heading to Iwa for a spy mission. You will be trying to figure all you can about a guy by the name of Kinoshi Utako. This mission will take a week. Am I clear? Hi, all three ninjas said. Good, you'll leave this afternoon, get packed. Anyo, Hokage-sama. I really don't think I'm welcome home yet. Do you think you can call my father out of the house so I can pack with being attacked? Hinata asked politely. Don't need to worry, there is a meeting being held in 10 minutes anyway and your father will be there so the house will be safe. Thank you, Tsunade-sama. Hinata said as they all disappeared out the door. Let's go. Naruto yelled enthusiastically as Hinata followed him out of the village gates. Naruto-kun, you're going the wrong way. Hinata giggled at Naruto's antics and started going in the right direction. By nightfall they were halfway to Iwa. They had already set up camp and were all sitting by the fire cooking fish. Hey, Hinata-chan? Naruto asked suddenly. Yes, Naruto-kun? Hinata responded. Do you reckon Shino has ever swallowed a fly? And that's pretty much where the conversation went for the rest of the night. It revolved around strange questions that none of the two had answers for, like what would Neji look like if someone shaved his head, but made the duo double over in laughter. Naruto was the first to head into his tent, but Hinata stayed out and watched the fire. She had a lot on her mind. She had been there for about half an hour, letting a few tears stray across her cheek when she heard the sound of a tent zip open. She quickly looked up and tried to wipe the tears away quick enough but failed. He had already noticed. Hinata-chan? What's wrong? Naruto asked sitting on the log next to her. Anyo, I'm fine Naruto-kun, she said looking back to the fire. You can trust me, remember Hinata-chan? And you don't have to hide your tears, it's okay. Naruto soothed holding her chin up so she'd look at him. Hinata looked up into his gentle and caring eyes and knew she could trust him. She gently leaned her head onto his shoulder and let her tears fall out. Naruto instinctively put his around her holding her close to him. What's wrong Hinata-chan? Tell me, and I'll do anything I can to help. It's just, everything. My family. I don't feel safe there anymore, and I don't know what to do, ever since. My mom passed away, it hasn't been the same. My father has treated me like a useless slave that can't do anything right. The only family I know that will even smile at me is Neji-ni-san. It just sucks you know, the one place you should feel loved and safe just, isn't. Hinata cried. Don't worry, you'll get through this. You've got me by your side and you've got all your friends, we can be your family. Naruto soothed, gently rubbing her back, and you know what? I think your mom would be proud of you. You and Neji are just about the only Hyuga I know who doesn't act like they have a stick shoved up their ass. Hinata laughed half-heartedly and hugged him tighter. You are probably one of the strongest Hyugas as well, and you don't even use Juyuken much. Tell me, all those techniques you know, did you come up with them all? He continued. I came up with fire current, fire style rotation, water geyser and my vortex of protection, Hinata admitted looking up. See? You don't see many other Hyugas making up their own jutsu. Hinata, you're strong, and you're the only Hyuga to get to the second level of the Byakugan. Your mother is definitely proud of you, believe it. He smiled. Thank you Naruto-kun, for listening. Then a big smile came across Naruto's face. Thank you for trusting me, he said and gently kissed her on the cheek. Hinata laughed, cheeks glowing bright red. Is it just me, or are you getting a strange sense of déjà vu? Hinata teased. Yeah, I think I am as well. Weird, don't you think? He laughed, also blushing slightly. Well, thank you again, but I better get some sleep. Good night Naruto-kun. I really need to pee. Well, that was the reason I came out here in the first place. Well, good night, Hinata-chan. So this is Iwa, Naruto said with a smile on his face. I don't think I've been here before, but it seems vaguely familiar. Hinata said, confused. Okay, so where are we going to find this Kinoshi guy? Naruto wondered. Let's walk around and talk to people. Hinata suggested. Okay, let's split up and meet here in 10 minutes. Naruto smiled and started to walk through the town. 10 minutes later, Hinata was at the meeting spot, panting like she'd just run 15 kilometers. It was fairly close, she'd actually run 3 but had to fend off a lot of guys. They wouldn't leave her alone. Hinata, are you okay? Why are you panting? Did you find anything? Naruto asked, running up to her. I didn't find anything. I just had to fend off a huge group of asses without killing any of them and ran all the way here. Hinata explained. Naruto instantly understood what she was talking about. Do you want to work together for the rest of the time? Naruto asked. Yes, thank you. Did you find anything? Not really, just some guy pointed out the bar, fireworks, and said I should check it out. Well, then let's go. Hinata smiled. Hello, gorgeous, what's your name? Hinata sighed in frustration. Not again. She and Naruto just walked into the bar and she's already being confronted. Mia, and this is Neko. What's your name? Hinata asked innocently, stepping slightly behind Naruto for protection. I'm Dano, would you like a drink, gorgeous? Hinata visibly flinched, but then Naruto spoke up. I would rather it if you didn't speak to my girlfriend like that. He said, emphasizing the word, girlfriend, to warn Hinata to play along. Hinata blushed a deep red and looked up at Naruto in surprise before turning back to Dano with the blush still evident on her face. Do you know anyone by the name of Kinoshi? He's a friend of ours and we've been looking for him. You're looking for boss? Then you've come to the right place. I'll tell you where to find him. But I want something out of it, he said, sending lustrous glances at Hinata. FCK off. Naruto growled, standing in front of Hinata, a massive amount of killer intent coming from him. You think you can beat me? Dano laughed. Not only can I kick your ass, so could my hin. Mia-chan if she tried. He hesitated on the name a bit. You think she can beat me? Dano laughed. Sure, she's hot, but I'm not afraid to hit a girl. Suddenly Hinata moved. It was so fast Dano couldn't see her until he felt a kunai being held to his neck. And I'm not afraid to slit your throat, she threatened into his ear. Well, she actually was bluffing, but he wasn't supposed to know that. Ever heard of beautiful and deadly? Naruto laughed, watching Hinata blush at calling her beautiful, but then turned serious. Now tell us where my friend is. His base is under this bar. There's a cellar in the back room. Dano said, terrified. Thank you. Hinata let go of him, smiling innocently, and walked off with Naruto. Remind me not to get you mad. Naruto whispered to Hinata as they walked away. Hinata giggled. I could never be mad at you, Naruto-kun. Thank you, now let's find this base. They walked through into a room at the back of the bar, walking through it swiftly so no one would notice. Soon enough they found themselves walking through a passage underneath the bar which led to a steel metal door. Naruto made a quick transformation sign, and in a poof of smoke he transformed into Dano, and he knocked on the door. Boss, you have a visitor that goes by the name of Mia. Naruto said, imitating Dano's voice perfectly. Come in. A deep voice came from inside the room. Naruto opened the door, letting himself in with Hinata traveling behind. They looked around the clean room, where a bald man in expensive-looking clothing sat on a chair in the middle of the room. The man looked up, studying the woman by the name of Mia, then his eyes widened and he let out a low growl. Dano, you idiot. She is a Hyuga. Not only that, she is the young Hyuga heiress. I wonder if she remembers me, he said with a sadistic smile. Hinata looked at him, confused for a couple of seconds, then realization dawned on her as her eyes widened as well. KK Kinoshi? You? Hinata couldn't make full sentences. Wow, you do remember me. And here I thought they used a mind seal on you, princess. Well, what brings you here, Hinata? He still had that sadistic smile implanted on his face. Naruto was sitting there watching this happen in complete confusion, but as Hinata started talking he started putting all the pieces together. Why did you kidnap me? Weren't you F from Keikumo? IW was just a kid. And now, it's your fault? Mother, how could you? Hinata started to tear up. Naruto was fighting the urge to hug her and say that everything was going to be alright, but he just stood still and watched the scene play out. Yes, so you remember me. I am from Kumo, but I have decided to relocate, although most of my shinobi are still over at Kumo. I hope you like the new place. It's a lot cleaner than the old one, don't you think? How can you act so normal when you killed my mother? How could you do this? She did nothing to you. Hinata yelled. It wasn't my fault, young one. If you don't remember, it was you who caused your mother's death. You were the one who tried to escape, and we warned you. It was your punishment. Kinoshi laughed. Well, now that you're here, I'd like to acquire that Byakugan that we failed to collect all those years ago. Dano, take her to the cell, he ordered, pointing to a doorway in the corner. Naruto was grateful for the pointing, otherwise he wouldn't be able to keep acting. He walked up to Hinata and put her into a lock as she pretended to try and squirm out of his grip. Naruto was only holding onto her gently, and Hinata could have easily broken free if she tried. Naruto walked through the door Kinoshi had pointed out, and as soon as they were out of sight, Hinata activated her Byakugan and Naruto let her go. The coast is clear, you can lose the transformation, follow me, and I'll guide us out of here without being seen, she said, trying to hide the sadness in her voice, but failed. Naruto wordlessly followed, and in a couple minutes the pair were out of the underground base and back on the streets. Let's get a hotel, Hinata suggested, and you could still hear the depression in her voice. Naruto heard it too. Hinata-chan, it wasn't your fault your mother died. Got it? He said confidently, making her look at him. But Naruto-kun, if I didn't, before she could finish her sentence she was being held in Naruto's strong arms, his forehead pushed against hers. It's not your fault. Don't believe what that asshole says. Remember, your mother made a choice, and she is watching down on you right now, believing in you every step of the way. You have no idea how proud she is of you. Believe it, Naruto said passionately. Hinata was shocked. She looked at Naruto, and she knew she loved him. He was so kind to her. Hinata looked up to Naruto, removing her forehead from his. Naruto, whoever your parents were, I bet they are really happy and proud to have such a loving and wonderful son. You really know how to make me feel better, and I've always admired you for that. Well, that and your ability to never give up. I wish your parents were here so I could thank them for having such a caring and admirable son. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Naruto looked down on Hinata, and slowly he lifted her chin up so she'd look at him in the eye. She noticed he had a tear running down his cheek. Gently using his thumbs, he rubbed each of the tears that fell down her cheeks, cleaning the tear trails from her face. Naruto looked at her for a moment. I need to thank you for everything. You know, I can't stop thinking about you, Hinata-chan. Ever since I got your present in the mail last year. You make me feel special, like I belong somewhere. You don't know how much that meant to me. It was the first present I ever got. Thank you so much. Hinata was crying. Tears of pure joy were falling down her cheeks as their lips inched towards each other, until they gently pressed against the others, massaging them together for a moment. Hinata was in shock. She was being kissed by Naruto. She had no idea why she hadn't fainted by now. The kiss just felt so right. She couldn't explain it. All her troubles melted away because she knew Naruto would be there for her. Naruto was going through the same thoughts. Did I just? He couldn't believe he was kissing her, but he didn't want to stop. And in a sudden shock of realization he realized something. He loved her. Naruto Uzumaki loved Hinata Hyuga. And it was different, like nothing he had ever experienced before. It wasn't like the childhood crush he had on Sakura all those years back. It was stronger. After breaking the kiss, Naruto held Hinata close to him so she could feel his warmth and feel safe and secure in his grip. I love you, Hinata-chan, Naruto confessed. You've always been there for me, even before I got back. You always know what to say to make me feel better. You were the only one that didn't look down on me. It didn't even faze you when I told you about Kyuubi. Thank you. Hinata was frozen. The only thing that told people that she was alive was the fact she was blushing like a tomato. But she managed to thaw out when Naruto pressed his lips to hers once more. She broke the kiss this time. Naruto-kun. I love you too. I've always loved and looked up to you. You were everything I wanted to be. You were confident, and you never gave up. I've trained so hard, trying to get my father's respect. It's never worked, but that doesn't mean I won't stop trying. Because of you I am now confident enough to stick up for myself in front of him, and I swear one day I'll earn his respect. Thank you. You know, I was wondering, even though we're in the middle of a mission and all, will you be my girlfriend? Naruto smiled awkwardly. Hinata laughed, breaking the tension. Of course, Naruto-kun. They leaned together once more for another gentle kiss before they headed to the hotel they'd stay in for the night, walking in each other's arms. Both happier than they had ever been. Naruto was sitting in his bed, thinking about the day that had just passed. Well, more specifically, the kiss with Hinata. He couldn't believe he confessed, but was happy he did. His thoughts suddenly dispersed when he found himself in the dark sewer of his mindscape in front of the cage he knew well by now. What do you want, furball? Naruto asked, annoyed. I was just going to congratulate you on our vixen. You didn't have to get mad. The Kyuubi growled back. Let me get one thing straight. Hinata isn't ours. You leave her alone. Naruto growled. Well, I think she's the perfect choice. And you should be somewhat pleased. Now that I approve of her, I will not allow her to get hurt while I'm around. The Kyuubi smiled. Like that was going to happen anyway. I already vowed I wouldn't let anything happen to her. Naruto yelled. I was just going to advise you to keep her. She will be very trustworthy in future. Kyuubi snarled. I wasn't going to let her go in the first place. Now go back to sleep, Fluffy. Naruto yelled as he drifted away to sleep. Hinata woke to the sun beating down on her through the hotel window. Yawning, she stood up and jumped into the shower. After changing into black shorts and a loose purple shirt, Hinata walked out of her room in search of Naruto. Suddenly she felt arms wrap around her waist and lips move down to her ear. Boo. She heard the male voice whisper. He was lucky Hinata recognized his voice because she was about to throw him into the wall. Hey, Naruto-kun. What are we doing today? She asked patiently. Well, I think we should explore the town today. We were after Kinoshi yesterday and we don't want him getting suspicious. What do you say? Sounds good to me, she smiled as they walked out of the hotel. They traveled around the village for a bit, walking around and checking out the sights, when Hinata noticed a flyer stuck to a window. Naruto-kun. Look at that, there's a festival tonight. Can we go? She said, turning on him with the puppy dog eyes and the pleading voice of a child when they wanted something. He laughed at how cute she looked. Of course, Hina-chan, he smiled a genuine smile. Hinata froze for a second because of her new nickname. She had never been called that since her mother was alive. Hina-chan, are you okay? Naruto looked at her worriedly. I'm fine. You know you're the first person to call me Hina-chan since my mother was alive? Hinata turned to him. I think you get a lot of your personality from your mother. You are a kind, pure-hearted and the most gorgeous girl I've never met. Your mother probably was the same. Well, it probably would be her, because you don't act like you have a stick up your ass like your father. He smiled at Hinata. My mum was beautiful. I can remember her in the Hyuga garden singing to herself when I was little. She loved it in that garden. I miss her so much. Ever since she passed, father never treated us the same anymore. Well, he never treated me the same. Hinata said, but then looked up with a smile. But I'll earn my father's respect, even if I have to beat it out of him. Just you wait, she said with a wink in Naruto's direction. Warn me the day you beat up your father. I want front row seats. He smiled. I'll see what I can do, but front row seats cost a fair bit, you know? She teased. Well, I'm still getting those front seats, even if I have to beat the hell out of everyone else to get it. He winked back at her. Both laughed and continued to walk through the village. Wow, look at the lights. Hinata smiled, looking at the festival decorations. Yeah, this is going to be fun. Let's find some games, Naruto said and ran off, with Hinata trailing behind. The first booth they came upon was a water shooting game. Naruto wanted to play, so Hinata decided to turn it into a competition. The winner was the person who won the most games throughout the night. This game, you had to shoot the water and knock out all the moving rubber ducks on the stand in a short amount of time. Hinata smirked as she quickly took out most of the ducks, and then looked over to Naruto who was close behind her. When she was about to win and shoot down her last duck, she got drenched by Naruto's water gun. She looked over to him with an evil glint in her eye. Smirking, she turned her water gun on him, which he dodged, but failed to notice the stream curving and hitting in the back of his head. You should stop starting fights on my turf. Hinata laughed at his pouting expression. But I can do that too. I've got wind chakra. He smiled and attacked Hinata as well, his water curving when she tried to dodge it by using his wind-based chakra. That lasted another minute until the booth manager kicked them out and they found themselves laughing and walking down the street again. Well, we may have got a little bit distracted. Naruto realized. Maybe, but I still won that one. Hinata laughed, trying to wring all the water out of her hair. As they were walking, Naruto looked over to Hinata's face. She was enjoying herself, you could tell by the genuine smile on her face. Suddenly her face lit up as she spotted something. She turned to Naruto. Can we get some cinnamon rolls? She asked with puppy dog eyes. Naruto chuckled. She was so cute when she was begging for something. Why not? He said as they walked over to the shop and Naruto bought a couple cinnamon rolls. They walked over to a nearby bench where Hinata could happily munch on her cinnamon rolls while leaning against Naruto, who was watching her with a smile on his face. She was about to take a bite of her second cinnamon roll when Naruto leaned over and took the bite first. What's so good about these things? He said, swallowing the bit of cinnamon roll that was in his mouth. Hey, That was my cinnamon roll. Hinata complained, finished off the roll Naruto had taken a bite out of. Not as good as ramen. Naruto decided. That's what you think. Cinnamon rolls are way better than ramen. Hinata protested. Naruto chuckled and ruffled her hair. Never. Hinata was about to protest when Naruto leaned over and gently kissed her on the lips, effectively shutting her up. After Hinata had finished her cinnamon rolls, or what was left of them, they continued walking for a couple more minutes until Hinata noticed a presence following them. Naruto? She asked innocently, but looking up to him with a serious face. He nodded. I know, love, I know. How long? About 5 minutes, he said nonchalantly. Hinata nodded to herself. So they've been following us for 5 minutes. I wonder who they are. She wondered. Naruto draped his arm over Hinata's shoulder, making her lean over and rest her head on his arm. Naruto leaned over to whisper in her ear, how many? Hinata's veins around her eyes bulged, and she concentrated on the duo following them. 2, 1 male 1 female. She answered, deactivating her Byakugan. We'll keep an eye on them. But right now, let's find another booth and hopefully not get kicked out of this one. He said enthusiastically, and started pulling Hinata along. Hinata laughed at her boyfriend's antics and followed him towards another booth. I want to play this one. Naruto smiled, entering the booth. Looking at the targets hanging from the walls, the man at the booth handed Naruto some darts and watched him throw at the various targets. He was surprised when he turned back around to see all the darts hitting the targets straight on. After he got over the shock, he turned to Naruto, well, you get anything on the top shelves. I don't want any of these. He complained looking at the stuffed toys sitting on the shelves. Wait. Hinata, pick one. Hinata smiled at him, then turned her head to face the stuffed toys. The fox please. Naruto laughed when she picked the fox, earning himself a playful glare from Hinata, who already had the fox in her arms and started walking off with him trailing behind. Okay, I'll bite. Why did you pick the fox? Naruto asked. Because it reminds me of my Naruto-kun. She leaned her head against his shoulder again. Because I'm adorable and cuddly? Naruto chuckled. Absolutely. She joked. They laughed for a moment, until Hinata noticed the Ferris wheel in the distance and begged Naruto to go on it with her. They walked into the small cart and it looked around as it started to rise. Hinata was standing up in the center of the cart, staring out the window at the scenery with a giant smile plastered on her face. Naruto, on the other hand, was sitting on a chair on the edge of the room, watching his girlfriend stare out the window in awe with her fox in hand. This view is awesome. Hinata smiled and looked over to Naruto, who was stood up. I'm not so interested in the view. He smiled at his gorgeous girlfriend as their eyes locked. She smiled. What is my adorable, cuddly boyfriend interested in then? Well, this adorable, cuddly boyfriend is interested in his gorgeous girlfriend. Well, I'm sorry, adorable, cuddly boyfriend. I only have eyes for my adorable cuddly fox. She turned to the fox in her hands and kissed it on the forehead. Naruto turned his glare to the fox. If this is war you want, you've got it, buddy. I'll destroy you for taking my gorgeous loving girlfriend from me. He teased with a smirk. Is that jealousy? Hinata smiled mischievously, hugging the fox close to her. If you want to play it that way, then I won't kiss you for a week. He smirked. You won't last that long. Hinata laughed. Naruto thought about his previous statement for a moment, contemplating what he would do if he could kiss Hinata for a week. No, I can't make that deal. I'll die a horrible death. Then what do you plan on doing? He smirked. Simply dispose of the competition. Hinata laughed at him. She couldn't remember the last time she had laughed this much. No. She said, then turned to the stuffed fox in her arms. Sorry, fox, adorable cuddly boyfriend has won this one. It's either that or adorable, cuddly boyfriend rips you apart, and I don't want that to happen. She then felt Naruto's strong arms wrap around her petite waist. She still had that smile in place when she turned to him. Well, I'm guessing adorable cuddly boyfriend wants his reward. He smiled at her in agreement before pressing his lips to hers in a passionate kiss. Naruto gently lifted his arms until one was rested at the back of Hinata's neck, and the other had found its way, gripping Hinata's chin, holding her closer to him. Hinata had flung her arms around Naruto's head, running her hands through his surprisingly soft blonde spikes. Naruto felt Hinata's lips curve upwards into a smile while they were kissing, giving Naruto a chance to lick her bottom lip, asking for entrance, which she happily granted. They both felt the sensation as Naruto's tongue slipped into her mouth, exploring the dark cave. Hinata unconsciously smiled when she realized Naruto tasted like ramen. Hinata's and Naruto's tongue fought for dominance until Naruto's tongue won, earning a place in Hinata's mouth. But before they could enjoy the moment further, the ride came to an abrupt halt, making them start to fall over, lip lock breaking as Naruto collected his balance and caught Hinata. "What was that, Hina-chan?" he asked, standing both of them up, suddenly serious. Hinata quickly activated her Byakugan. "Looks like the two stalkers from before have decided to show themselves. They're ninja, and they're climbing up the Ferris wheel towards us," Hinata explained. Naruto sighed in frustration. What a way to ruin the moment. "They picked the worst possible time to stop the Ferris wheel. I was enjoying that," Naruto complained. Hinata laughed at her boyfriend's antics. "I was enjoying that too, Naruto-kun. We just have to make these stalkers pay for ruining it." Suddenly the door flew off of their cart, and two dark silhouettes entered. "What's happening?" a worried voice of a mother said, looking at the two silhouettes that had entered their cart. The small child was hugging his mother around the legs as hard as he could, looking extremely scared. He also had a familiar fox toy in his arms, which the intruders luckily didn't recognize. The two silhouettes looked around the cart, extremely confused. They swore they saw the two people they were hunting in that exact cart. "We were making sure everyone was okay in the carts. We need to head to the next cart now, if you excuse us," the woman said. "This lady's very pretty," the man said, taking a step closer to the mother. "Juno, do you have to go after every woman you see?" the woman growled. "No, Kinobi, just the pretty ones," Juno explained. "Well, I'm sick of it. It was okay when you were with your brothers, but not you have me as a teammate. It's not happening. Can I at least take her with me?" Juno pleaded. "Fine." Kinobi gave up. Juno started walking over to the woman on the other side of the cart, still holding onto her little boy who was looking mad. "Come on, lady," Juno said, moving to grab onto the lady, but she moved out the way. "Touch her, and I kill you, got it?" the little boy yelled, ditching his transformation jutsu and charging at Juno. Both Juno and Kinobi were surprised to see the blonde ninja standing in front of them. "You guys are extremely bad ninjas. You didn't even notice that we were using a transformation jutsu," Naruto ridiculed. "Shut up you," Juno growled, annoyed. Hinata took that moment to ditch her transformation jutsu, and stood next to Naruto, getting into her Jiyuken stance. "Actually, I like this woman better," Juno mumbled to no one in particular. "Well, we have to capture her anyway," Kinobi said, entering a very loose fighting stance. Juno went straight for Hinata, throwing many kicks and punches which she simply blocked. But it was getting difficult. They were in a very confined space and she didn't have much room to move. And it wasn't much better with Naruto. Kinobi charged at him, and managed to earn herself a black eye, which just made her madder. Naruto just kept dodging her fury of attacks until he found himself back to back with Hinata. "I'm running out of room. How are you faring?" Naruto said, blocking a few more punches thrown his way. "Not too good. I seem to be having the same trouble." She never finished her sentence, because she was kicked in the stomach and was coughing up blood. "Hina-chan," Naruto yelled, turning around. He forgot about Kinobi behind him and ended up being pushed onto the ground. Naruto and Hinata's hands and legs were bound and they were on opposite edges of the cart being held by the intruders. "Hey, cutie?" Kinobi turned to the blonde boy on his knees in front of her. "Will you go out with me after this?" she asked innocently. Naruto started choking unexpectedly, shocked by the question. "Are you serious?" "No, I'm quite happy with my girlfriend at the moment." Kinobi hissed in annoyance. "And is she your girlfriend?" she growled, pointing to Hinata. "Obviously, she is the prettiest girl in the room. Why wouldn't she be mine?" Naruto retorted angrily. Hinata blushed at the compliment, but felt awkward with Kinobi glaring at her so murderously. "Well, let me change that," she growled, pulling a kunai from her pocket and walking over towards Hinata. "Don't touch her," Naruto growled. "Well, I'm simply making me the prettiest one in the room," she said nonchalantly, walking over to Hinata. Naruto was snarling loudly. No words escaped his mouth, but the threatening snarl spoke clearer than words. Hinata was staring at the incoming Kinobi in shock, but quickly got over that and activated her Byakugan. "That's not going to help you," Kinobi warned and stood next to Hinata with a kunai to her cheek. Hinata quickly activated her fire current, which didn't stop the kunai from slicing her cheek, but burned away her bounds. She quickly kicked Kinobi back so she wouldn't hit her anymore and looked over to Naruto. She was about to help him when she noticed the red demonic chakras surrounding him and the bounds disintegrating before her eyes. Then Naruto charged straight for Kinobi. Naruto was mad. His eyes flashed red in utter rage. "If you even try touching my Hina-chan, I will make you suffer a fate worse than death, got it?" He roared, punching Kinobi straight through the other window, proving his point. And then there was one. Juno stood shocked for a moment, only snapping out of it when he felt a kick in the gut by Hinata, sending him out the same window Kinobi flew through. Hinata quickly released her jutsu and jumped out of the cart, followed by Naruto, landing swiftly on the floor next to Juno and Kinobi, who were barely able to move at this stage. "Now, what do you want with us?" Hinata stepped forward, growling. "B-boss said we need to take the G-girl to him." Kinobi mumbled, scared. "What does he want with her?" Naruto took a step forward. "He said he needed to finish what he started all those years ago." Juno answered. "Explain everything," Naruto ordered, a Rasengan forming in his hand. "The last few years we've been working on an advanced bloodline and we need the Byakugan to finish it. We had a Hyuga, but she had the curse mark so we haven't been able to extract the Byakugan. We had been trying to get rid of the seal, until boss found out that the heiress was in town." "Where's your boss now?" Hinata growled. "He said we meet him at the lab when we captured you." "Where's the lab?" Naruto asked. "At the outskirts of town, in an old abandoned packing shed." "Let's go." Naruto turned to Hinata. "Right." Hinata quickly touched Juno and Kinobi on their necks, paralyzing them with her Jiyuken, and then took off with Naruto by her side. "I know we're not supposed to go after him," Hinata started as they were flying across roofs. "We were only supposed to find out what he was doing, but this is getting personal and I'm going to enjoy beating the shit out of this guy. I'm with you all the way, but I'm just gonna sit and watch while my Hina-chan has all the fun." Naruto smiled back at her. "Wow, this place looks like it hasn't been used in years," Naruto said, stunned as he looked at the abandoned warehouse. "It looks very different inside." Hinata warned, Byakugan activated. "Well, let's go." Naruto took the lead, and jumped through an open window, with Hinata trailing behind him. But he froze, looking how high-tech the place looked from the inside. There were computers everywhere, a lot of electronic equipment and a table in the center of the room made for a person to lay on because there were cuffs for where their legs and hands were supposed to be. Hinata already knew what it looked like, so she had her Byakugan activated and was looking for Kinoshi. "Where is he?" Hinata asked out loud, searching everywhere around her with the Byakugan. Suddenly she got sight of him, and quickly turned and tackled Naruto to the ground with wide eyes as a string of kunai flew over their heads. "Nani?" Naruto called from on the ground, looking at Hinata's eyes. They were boring straight into him, but he could tell she was looking at something a distance away from them. "Well, I found him." Hinata smiled, standing up. They both looked over to the angered Kinoshi, standing on the other end of the lab. "Welcome," he growled. "Friendly man," Naruto noted. "Well, I'm sorry, but you can't stay and chat. You may take your leave, young man." Kinoshi said to Naruto. "I'm sorry, but I've just won this girl from a very sly fox, and I don't intend to lose her anytime soon." Naruto smiled menacingly. "I wonder how Kitsune-kun will take it. He isn't used to be dumped." Hinata wondered out loud. "Kitsune-kun?" Naruto looked over to Hinata, eyebrows raised. "Well, I decided to name him. But I hope he doesn't take the breakup too seriously," she said with a fake sigh of thought. They both looked up when they heard Kinoshi coughing, trying to get their attention. "I'm your enemy. If you don't take this seriously you will fall," he warned. The couple ignored him. "I don't think Kitsune will take it too seriously. He saw me kiss you and he hasn't attacked me or you yet," Naruto reminded. "Oh, that's right. Well, good for him. He will find someone worthy of him someday." Hinata smiled. Kinoshi was getting really mad. He let out a sigh of frustration and charged for Hinata. But before he could get anywhere near her, Naruto had appeared in front of him and punched him in the stomach. "Where's Kitsune now?" "He was with you last time I checked." Naruto went back to the game. Their plan was working. They were to make Kinoshi's irritation cloud his fighting. "I dropped him off at the hotel. I hope he's okay." "He'll be fine, as long as you left him some milk." They couldn't hold it in anymore. They let out their laughter which echoed through the room. Well, I'm getting sick of this guy, let's finish him off. Naruto stated, turning back to the Kinoshi that was now standing back up, with two guards that had appeared from God knows where. Good idea. Water style. Boiling geyser. Hinata called after a long string of hand signs, and a large flow of steaming hot water shot out of the ground from underneath Kinoshi's two henchmen. Naruto smirked when he saw another pack of henchmen enter the room, and started dong hand signs so fast no one had a chance to see what they were. Lightning style. Power surge. He called out and a huge lightning-styled chakra surge flew out of Naruto's body, electrocuting all the incoming ninja, and surprisingly, Hinata didn't feel a thing. Naruto-kun? We have to move, now. Hinata warned, there are hundreds of them coming. Well, let's go out with a bang. He smiled and started doing hand signs. Hinata, add your strongest fire jutsu. Wind style. Hurricane. And wind whipped everyone in the room, killing some of the ninja before Hinata could even finish her hand signs. Fire style. Inferno fountain. She declared as fire started bursting out from every possible angle, hitting everything in sight. Let's go. Naruto called, grabbing onto Hinata and disappearing out of the warehouse just as tea blew up. Well, I take that as mission complete. Let's grab our stuff and get out of here as fast as we can. Hinata called as they headed for their hotel. Hinata was about to walk out of their hotel when she noticed something hanging on the door. There was a kunai lodging into the door, holding up a piece of paper. Hesitantly, Hinata ripped the paper from the kunai and read it. Did you really think I die that easily? Now that you've pissed me off, I'm ready for a game. I'm sure you want to know what the prize is, so let's just say I never said your mother was dead, now did I? And if you lose, well, it's a goodbye for you. Your little blonde friend doesn't need to play, but it's up to him if he likes the game. Now go to the northern forest, and then you'll find out what's next. Yours truly, Kinoshi. Hinata just stared at the paper in her hands. She didn't know what to think. She should be happy that her mother was alive, but it was her fault her mom was taken in the first place. Hina-chan, are you okay? Naruto's voice broke her out of her daze. She swiftly turned so she was facing Naruto. Head back to Konoha, I need to go somewhere, she said with determination. Naruto looked at her confusedly, then took the paper gently out of Hinata's hands and read what it said. I'm coming, he said abruptly, without even thinking about his decision. But what about the mission? You have to get back and deliver it to Tsunade. You don't have to come with me if you don't want to. Hinata reminded. Nope, I'll send Tsunade a message via Toad. We'll go get your mother back, he said with a smile, picking up a blank scroll out of his backpack and started writing on it hastily. Ba-chan, it's Naruto and Hinata. We need to tell you that we are going to be longer than expected. We've got some business to attend to. Kinoshi is trying to make an advanced bloodline and he had a base up here and another in a place called Mako, so we've finished our mission. We just have one thing that we have to do, and we don't know how long we'll be gone. We'll come back as soon as we can. Naruto and Hinata. P.S. If you want to talk to us, send a message through a toad. Naruto quickly rolled up and sealed the scroll, then did a few hand signs and said, summoning jutsu. A small toad popping out of nowhere. Hey, Naruto, the toad called out, what do you need? You better not be in any trouble, you always summon me at the worst of times. Hinata smiled at the toad, you never told me you could summon toads. They are so cute. Naruto raised an eyebrow at his girlfriend, did she just call a toad cute? I like this one, Naruto. She respects us toads. Is she yours? The toad asked. Yes, Gamakichi, she's mine. But I need you to take this scroll to Tsunade, can you do that for me? Naruto asked. Sure thing Naruto. Gamakichi called out as Hinata tied the scroll to his back. Thank you, Gamakichi. Hinata smiled to the toad. May I ask your name, miss? Gamakichi asked politely. I am Hinata. It's nice to meet you, Gamakichi. Now if you could please take that scroll to Tsunade? Sure thing, Hinata, Gamakichi said and disappeared in a puff of smoke. Cute? Naruto turned to his girlfriend skeptically as soon as the smoke disappeared. Hinata smiled, yeah, but now, we should get going. I have a mother to save. And with that said, the two disappeared out of the building. The couple had reached the forest and had no idea what to do from there. Well, the idea came to them when they heard a large explosion in the distance. Is that him? Naruto asked, staring in the direction of the loud bang. Hinata answered with a nod, and followed Naruto off in the direction on the explosion. They ran through the trees until they came across a large crater on the ground that the explosion must have created. Slowly, the duo walked up to the center of the crater and saw a small scroll lying on the dirt. The scroll was in perfect health, so it must have been planted after the explosion. Naruto guessed as he picked the scroll up from off the ground and read the scroll's contents. Nice to see you decided to play, Naruto. Now this is your first clue. So I can have some fun watching you squirm. Before you both die. North, there is a village called Mako, where my first base used to be. There you will find the place where your mother, Hikari, used to stay. Oh, and one more thing. Boom, suddenly the scroll exploded, sending the couple flying backwards into the ground. Are you alright? Naruto asked as he got off of the forest floor and walked over to Hinata with a palm out. I'm fine. Hinata smiled up at him, taking his hand so he could pull her up into a standing position. Then let's go, he yelled enthusiastically, and the two jumped off in the northern direction. An hour later, Hinata and Naruto were sitting against the base of a tree. Well, Naruto had his back against the tree, snoring slightly while Hinata sat in between his legs, leaning into Naruto's chest. A sudden poof of smoke caught Hinata's attention. She was about to throw a kunai into the smoke when she saw Gamakichi standing there, a big frog-like smile on his face and a scroll tied to his back. Gamakichi, what are you doing here? Hinata asked, relaxing now that there was no enemy. Tsunade replied to your scroll and wanted me to hand it to you. Gamakichi explained, walking over to her. Hinata nodded, then turned to the figure she was sleeping on. Naruto-kun? Naruto, wake up, she said, nudging him gently. Naruto kept his eyes closed, speaking quietly, sleeping. Can't wake up, need kiss, he murmured. Hinata giggled at the blonde, but obliged anyway. Naruto opened his eyes once he felt the weight being lifted from his lips and a broad grin etched across his face. Hello gorgeous. What can I do for you on this fine day? He asked, smiling. Have a look at this, it's from Tsunade-sama. Hinata said, opening the scroll and reading it aloud. Hinata, brat, I will allow you to go on this mission, only because I know you'll go even if I say no. Baka, you have to look after Hinata because you probably dragged her into this and I don't want any of my ninja hurt at a time like this. When you get back, I expect a full mission report on what you've been up to. I'll tell the village in a week that the two of you are missing in action, so there aren't any suspicions. Good luck, Tsunade. Why does she always blame stuff on me? Naruto sighed after reading the scroll. Well, most of the time it is your fault, except this time. Sorry. Hinata looked down and continued, you don't have to continue, you know. You can go back to Konoha if you want. Hell no. I said I'm coming and I never go back on my word. Besides, I still want to beat the crap out of Kinoshi. Naruto smiled. Well, I better get going. See you later Hinata, Naruto, Gamakichi said and disappeared in a poof of smoke. Hinata and Naruto then continued on their way to Mako. Meanwhile in Mako, Konohamaru, get back here, we still need to escort Mr. Mistno back to the castle. Ebisu, a Junin teacher/pervert, said waving his fists into the air. He can walk 5 meters by himself. The black-haired genin, Konohamaru, yelled back and kept running down the road. Wait for us, Moegi called out, grabbing Udon's hand and running after Konohamaru. Clash. Ouch. Konohamaru sighed as he crashed headfirst into someone. Konohamaru? Said the person he crashed into. Boss? What are you doing here? Oh, I'm not allowed to say yet. I'll get back to you on that one. Naruto said with a grin. Did you come here by yourself? Nope, Ebisu-sensei, Moegi and Udon are here somewhere. What about you? Hina-chan is with me, but I lost her a minute ago. Naruto sighed, looking around. Suddenly there was a loud bang coming from across the street, and sparks were flying. Let's check it out, Naruto said as the two ran off towards the smoke and sparks. Oh, he's getting the shit beaten out of him. But she has a good reason to hit him. Yeah, I heard he groped her. What a pervert. That's what Naruto and Konohamaru could hear as they approached the fight scene. Ebisu-sensei? He is getting his butt kicked. Konohamaru laughed as Ebisu entered their view as he flew into the ground. Yeah, hope she beats him good. Naruto agreed with a chuckle. Suddenly a huge geyser of water busted from under the ground, flying up directly under Ebisu. Naruto stood in shock for a moment. He had seen that move before. He then clenched his knuckles in realization. I am going to kill him. He growled. Why? Konohamaru asked, a tad scared at the killing intent coming from Naruto. He groped my girlfriend. Girlfriend? Wait, is that Hinata-san? Konohamaru asked, shocked. After hearing no reply from Naruto, Konohamaru looked over to where Naruto was standing to see that Naruto had disappeared. Then heard a loud crack coming from the battle area, and saw Ebisu in a crater in the ground. What do you think you're doing groping my girlfriend? Naruto growled, appearing in front of the crater. Ebisu was shocked for a second. You? A girlfriend? That isn't possible, especially with a chick like that. He laughed, but it only lasted a second before he found himself in another crater. Naruto-kun, I know you want to kill him and all, trust me I do too. But he's still a good ninja of Konoha, and we don't want to lose of them at the moment. Hinata warned. Alright, but when we get back to Konoha, I'll have his head. Naruto sighed and lifted his girlfriend up, so she was tall enough for him to kiss her without bending down. Way to go, boss. Konohamaru yelled from in the audience, which resulted in an applause and a very embarrassed Naruto and Hinata. What a cute couple. Moegi sighed, she had just seen the last of the fight, and was still dragging Udon around. Sorry guys, but we gotta go. Hinata started, appearing in front of the Konohamaru core. Yeah, Naruto continued, and please don't tell anyone about us, because Hinata's father won't take it too lightly, and I want to see the look on his face. Naruto smirked, throwing an arm around Hinata's shoulders casually. Got it boss. No one will know. Konohamaru promised as Naruto and Hinata disappeared in a burst of speed. So the used-to-be base is under this building? Naruto asked as the duo stood in front of a large shopping center. How do we get in? There's an entrance over this way. Hinata reminded, taking the lead and taking them into the underground base, which was extremely dark. What do we do now? Naruto wondered aloud, looking around the dark space. I think we've got to find another scroll. Hinata guessed. But how can we when I can't see? Naruto declared. Easy. Fire style. Burning flicker, Hinata said, a small flame flickering in the palm of her hand, effectively lighting up the room. There's the scroll, Naruto exclaimed, looking at the scroll sitting on a table in the middle of the otherwise empty room. Slowly, he walked over to the scroll and read its contents. So Blondie decided to play. This is going to be fun. Now your problem is finding your way out of the base, without running into any of my men. If you make it out, I'm willing to make you a deal. I will give you Hikari, if I get young Hinata instead. Meet me at the Wave Village Bridge in 2 days, if you survive. Well, let's get outta here. Naruto smiled, turning to Hinata. Byakugan. Hinata called out, this'll be easy. She smiled. How wrong she was. 3.5 minutes later. Oh, crap. Naruto swore as the army circled Naruto. Maybe easy wasn't the best choice of wording. Hinata sighed as she was getting pushed up against a wall by 5 buff men. How are you faring over there? Naruto called out as he punched another man into a brick wall. Not too good. Seriously, you idiots better back off before you make me mad. Hinata growled at another attacker. Nah, is the itty-bitty princess getting a whittle angry? A woman smirked. Yes, and you wouldn't like to see her when she's mad. Hinata growled as she smashed the woman's head into a wall. You little bitch. The woman growled, punching Hinata in the cheek. What, you scared the itty-bitty princess is gonna beat you up? Hinata mocked as they traded blows. You're no match for me, Hinata. The woman smirked, her short red hair swinging around her as she dodged and ducked around Hinata's palms. Oh, so you know my name and I don't know yours. How about I just call you, Red? Hinata smirked, dancing around the little area they had to fight, dodging and weaving through Red's punches. Red didn't seem to like that comment, since she upped the speed and started attacking Hinata in a more ferocious rate. Hinata didn't seem too worried about the change in pace, she just twisted around the strikes faster. Hinata smiled at her chance, she really enjoyed annoying this woman. Chuckling silently to herself, she realized she'd probably been hanging around Naruto too much. Now, no need to be hasty. You don't want to fight with anger, because in anger you seem to rush things and leave yourself open. She grunted out the last word as she leant her hands on the ground for balance before swinging her legs around, kicking Red in the dead center of her stomach. You have got to admit, this chick has got spunk. One of the older-looking men laughed as he watched the fight, seemingly enjoying himself. Spunk? Seriously, no one even knows what that word means anymore. And shouldn't you be helping me? This chick is seriously a pain in the ass. Red complained, jumping back up. Hey, it's not too often I get to see a bitch fight like this one, plus, she is hot. She knows how to fight. It just makes it a whole lot better. Ew. Hinata complained about the old guy giving her a compliment like that, still dodging the woman's strikes. Let's bring this fight up a notch. Red growled and started making hand signs, calling out, Earth style, wet sand. Hinata couldn't help but laugh when nothing happened. Seriously, you didn't notice? While you were blindly attacking, I have been blocking your tenketsu. You can't use any chakra. Hinata then gave the woman one last kick in the side on the head, sending her straight into a wall, effectively knocking her out. That's when the old man charged. Don't think I'll go down so easily. You may be flexible, but that won't be able to help you. Too bad I don't mind hitting pretty ladies. Back off, Romeo. Hinata growled as that man approached her, unless you really want to know how hard I hit. The man smirked, opening his mouth for some dim-witted comeback when he was suddenly slammed into the wall. You have no idea how fun it is slamming people into walls. Hinata smirked as another round of people came towards her, getting ready to fight. Things seemed to be going alright for the duo so far. 10 minutes later, isn't this romantic, Naruto-kun? Hinata joked, looking around the cell that they had been in for the last 5 minutes. Absolutely, he smiled and kissed her passionately on the lips. You, and me, in a dark and moldy prison cell, surrounded by the smell of rotting dead bodies. We should come here more often. I agree completely. She smiled and got on her tiptoes so she could kiss him again. He bent down so she could reach him, putting his forehead to hers and let her kiss him. Hinata threw her arms around Naruto's neck, deepening the kiss, and Naruto snaked his arms around her waist. This is getting interesting, don't you think? Hell yeah, I hope that chick will take her clothes off. Nah, check out that guy's muscles. I hope he'll strip soon. Naruto and Hinata froze. They had forgotten they had guests. Naruto was the first to speak, glaring holes through the male and female prison guards. Excuse me? This was a private moment and you two just had to ruin it. Hinata couldn't help but giggle at his antics. Well, I'm done here. Now that that's over, we better get back to our masters. I bet they'd get a blush about this. Naruto chuckled. No, don't you mean you get a blush out of this? He joked. True. Hinata gave up. Thanks for teaching me the shadow clone technique anyway, Naruto-kun. Hinata smiled as they both disappeared in a puff of smoke, leaving two extremely confused prison guards. The real Naruto and Hinata were already out of the building, jumping across trees. We need a plan, Naruto decided as the two started on their way to the land of Wave. Plan? Hinata asked, a blush on her face as her clone's memories suddenly flooded back to her. Naruto chuckled at her blush. Yeah, I'm sure as hell I'm not letting Kinoshi take you away from me, especially after I just got you. Hinata was silent for a moment, thinking through everything. I got an idea. Hinata smiled and prepared to explain her plan. The Great Naruto Bridge? Hinata read aloud, confused as hell as they stood in front of a large bridge. I'll tell Toy about it later. First, how many people has Kinoshi got back there? Asked the necklace hanging around Hinata's neck. Only 50, we'll be able to take them, if we get our timing right. Hinata said confidently, deactivating her Byakugan. Let's hope this works, Naruto said with a smile, not that she could see it, because he had used a transformation jutsu to transform himself into the necklace dangling around Hinata's neck. Hinata slowly walked out of the bush she was hiding in and walked out onto the bridge, keeping her guard up. After a few moments on the other side of the bridge, the foliage started rustling and Kinoshi appeared, walking to the center of the bridge, being flanked by two of his men. Where's your blonde friend? Kinoshi demanded. Hinata immediately dropped her gaze, refusing to look at him, suddenly finding her shoes very interesting. Kinoshi laughed menacingly from the center of the bridge. He dumped you, didn't her? Hinata refused to answer the question, leaving her gaze on the ground. Where's my mother? She asked bluntly. Bring her out, boys. Kinoshi smirked. Two large buff men walked out of the trees with a tall woman between them with her arms bound. The woman, Hikari Hyuga, was a mirror image of her daughter, except Hikari was a lot taller and older, and had the caged bird seal across her forehead unlike the short, young Hinata. Hina-chan? Is that you? My, you've grown into a gorgeous young lady. Hikari spoke in her gently, caring voice, a small smile caressing her lips. Mum? Tea, thank you. Hinata stuttered, then turned back to Kinoshi, meeting his eyes with a glare. Now, let her go. Fine, fine, no need to be hasty, he chuckled. Guys, collect our prize. Kinoshi ordered as two more guys walked out of the trees and towards Hinata. Now, this was it, she had to get the timing exact. She waited until the two men holding Hikari had cut the ropes when she activated her bloodline and yelled, now. Immediately she activated her boiling geyser jutsu to blow the two men next to Hikari into oblivion. That's when Naruto dropped his transformation jutsu and immediately started hand signs, shadow clone jutsu. He yelled, hundreds of Narutos appearing, running after Kinoshi's men who had now entered the scene. Lightning style. Kunai storm. The real Naruto called out as the clones all created a Rasengan and charged, dodging the flying lightning-enhanced kunai. Meanwhile, Hinata was at her mother's side, standing protectively in front of her, fending off enemies. Kinoshi, on the other hand, was charging straight for Hinata. He sure as hell wasn't going to let her leave, especially after how close he was to finishing his bloodline. Hina-chan, move, Naruto yelled, after seeing Kinoshi behind her with his katana raised. There was no time for Hinata to dodge, so Naruto ran. He could feel demon chakra powering his legs as he smashed into the side of the katana, blade cutting into his skin, but he didn't care. As Naruto hit the ground, all of his clones charged Kinoshi, and Hinata and Hikari went to check if Naruto was okay. Naruto-kun, are you okay? Hinata asked, worried. Yeah, I'll live. Fox is healing me at the moment. Naruto explained, it just might take a while. Here, I can help. I was a medic nin when I lived in Konoha, Hikari smiled, healing Naruto's main wound. Well, you must be Hikari. It's an honor to meet you. Now I know where Hina-chan got her good looks from. He smiled widely. Hikari laughed, you must be Naruto, and it's a pleasure to meet you. What do we do now? Hinata wondered, should we travel back to Leaf? I know, we can stay at some friends of mine for the night. They'd kill me if I came all this way without saying hello. Naruto said with a smile. I like that idea. Besides, you still need to tell me the story about this bridge. Hinata smiled. Well, it all started when Naruto started in the direction of Tsunami, Tazuna and Inari's house, telling the story of the first time he was there. Knock, knock. Hello? A young woman, around mid-30s with long brown hair, opened the door to her three visitors. Tsunami. Guess who? Naruto grinned. She stared at him blankly for a moment, taking in his blonde locks, 3 sets of whisker marks on each cheek in hyperactive attitude. Naruto? Naruto. She yelled in realization, throwing her arms around the boy, engulfing him in a hug. Oto-san. Inari-kun. Get out here. We have a visitor. She yelled into the house. Naruto? A young boy's voice entered the scene. He looked about 12 years of age with bronze locks and dark blue eyes. Hey, Inari. How have you been, little bro? Naruto smiled expectantly. Naruto ni. Inari ran up and hugged him as soon as Tsunami had let go. It's good to see you again, Naruto. The old man, Tazuna, smiled warmly at him. Boy, have you grown. I remember when you were an annoying little short shit back in the day. Old man, I saved your life back then. Naruto complained. Well, what brings you back here? And would you mind introducing us to these two lovely ladies accompanying you? Naruto raised his eyebrows for a moment before realizing Tazuna was only being polite. Well, this is Hinata Hyuga, and her mother Hikari Hyuga, and we just kicked some serious ass and we're looking for somewhere to stay for the night. Naruto-kun, do you know how to be polite? Hinata joked. He seemed like a gentleman before, Hikari pondered. Trust me, it won't last. Hinata laughed. Hey, Hina-chan, you're supposed to be on my side. Naruto complained. Well, you're welcome to stay here. I want to know what you've been up to in these last years. Tsunami smiled. Well, take a seat on the couch and we can talk. Tazuna grinned, leading everyone towards the lounge room as Tsunami went to make everyone some tea. Once Tsunami had got back and everyone was happily drinking their tea, Hikari was the first one to start a conversation. So, Hina-chan? How has Hiashi-kun been? She asked gently. It was obviously a bad question. Hinata immediately tensed up, and started choking on her tea, and Naruto had a look of disgust on his face as he glared at the ground. Next time I see him I swear I'm going to beat some sense into him. Naruto-kun, please don't. Hinata said softly. He deserves it. I mean, how could he do something like that to you? Next time I'll do more than punch him through a wall. He growled. What did he do to you, Hina-chan? Hikari wondered worriedly. Hinata looked down. She didn't want to answer that question. She suddenly felt the warmth of a palm on her shoulder, but when she looked up Naruto didn't have the calming effect his hand did. He was fuming, glaring holes through the floor. He then decided to answer the question, looking up and startling everyone with a furious glint in his eyes. The Teme would beat the crap out of her almost every goddamn day. Call her weak because she wouldn't fight back, and the only reason she wouldn't fight back was because she didn't want to hurt him. And to top it all off, he tried putting that fried caged bird seal on her, but it didn't work because he stopped talking abruptly, realizing he had said too much. Everyone in the room was now staring wide-eyed at Hinata, who was shifting uncomfortably under their gaze. She really didn't want this attention. Because, Hikari hinted, breaking the silence. Naruto glanced over to Hinata, who was looking down. You can tell her. I'd trust them, Hinata mumbled, looking up. Naruto noticed the tears threatening to fall and engulfed her in his embrace before turning back to the group. Hinata's one of the strongest people I know. She's up to par with me when we spar, and I know we're going easy on each other. The reason why the caged bird seal didn't work on her is because Hinata has achieved the second level of the Byakugan. Naruto explained. What does it do? Hikari wondered aloud. Hinata let go of Naruto's embrace. Okawa-san, come here please, she instructed, pointing to the seat next to her and Naruto. Hikari nodded, following her daughter's orders when Hinata explained. Okay, Mum, this is going to hurt a little but don't move. It's worth it in the end. She then turned to Naruto. Naruto-kun? She asked. Understanding what Hinata meant, Naruto let out a small sigh and gripped onto Hinata tightly, gently rubbing circles into her back. Byakugan. Hinata activated the second level and placed her palm onto Hikari's forehead. Both women flinched at the contact and Hinata clenched her teeth as pain shot her eyes, which were boring into Hikari's seal. After the pain was over, Hinata collapsed into Naruto's warm embrace and Hikari was breathing heavily. What did you do? Hikari asked. Take a look in a mirror, Naruto answered for Hinata, as she had fallen asleep. Hikari nodded and left the room in the direction Tsunami pointed out. Is she okay? Inari asked, pointing at the unconscious Hinata in Naruto's arms. Yeah, she's fine, just out of chakra. She needs to rest, Naruto explained, looking down at his sleeping beauty. Who's Hiashi? Tsunami asked. Her father, Naruto answered sadly. You could hear footsteps coming from down the hall. Hinata-chan has grown into a strong young woman. I can't believe she can do that. Hikari re-entered the room rubbing her forehead. Let me put her in a bed and I'll tell her what I've been up to in these last 6 or so years. Naruto smiled, picking Hinata up and gently placing her in a bed in one of the spare rooms, giving her a small kiss on the forehead before turning back to the lounge room. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.